across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Afternoon to you. Thank you to Philip Ingram. Sterling job. Ian Collins back tomorrow from 1. The Housewife's Choice, but we are on with Drive Time. What a show it was yesterday. That breaking news about Epping Forest. It seems to me, and most of other people, that Labour's migrant hotels policy is in the absolute crapper. Loads to talk about. I promise you that. Loads and loads. I'm just going to tell you, OK, how you can be involved. And then we're going to introduce our first guest, who is already breaking the law. If you want to be on, Jude is here. All right, Jude. 0344 499 1000, 0344 499 1000. Voice notes, WhatsApp messages, and the rest to the legend that is Ryan Lanky Lovecat. What do you call your wife again? The wife. Anyway, he's here, Lanky. 0344 499 1000 on the WhatsApp. Send your voice notes. Amy's smiling. She's pushing the buttons. Hopefully a bit more impressive than yesterday. And you can send your text to 87222. It's a joke. She's frowning. 87222. Start your message with the word talk. Now, when you talk about pride in this nation, when you think about how people are arguing about the migration crisis, you can't fly the British flag, the faith in the police is crumbling, we're under fire, people are painting flags and being arrested, the Chancellor can't add up. There's only one man you want, a man who speaks for the nation, a man who, when I said you're wearing a Union Jack tie, what did you say to me, Peter Blexley?
Yes, because the government are encouraging people, believe it or not,
yes,
to fly the Union flag.
Yes, yes.
But they have said, as long as the owner of the site agrees.
Yes. Have you spoken to the bosses of News UK then?
The site upon which this tie rests is my beer belly, and I own my beer belly. I've consulted with my beer belly, and upon it shall stay.
Good for you. Round of applause. You haven't had the clap for a while. Peter Blexley, fantastic. Now, listen, so much to talk about. We were literally, Mike was walking past, it literally hit that Epping story yesterday. I think that it is now, it's dominoes. I mean, Broxbourne Council in Hertfordshire, they started very quickly. We're going to have a special guest from Spelthorne Council. This is the hotel next to Heathrow Airport. We're going to have somebody from the council after 5 o'clock. They're seeking legal advice. I reckon councils across this country, be they reform-controlled ones or conservative ones, are going to go, hold on a minute. If Epping can get, although it's just a temporary injunction, it's set a precedent. The Labour Party, the Labour government, is in absolute peril here because where'd you put these people? I'd deport them, but where are they going to put them?
12 local councils under reform control.
Yep.
And of course, Mr Farage has said they are going to be taking legal advice. And so much of that judgment yesterday was based on the fact that those premises were not licensed to act as an HMO.
Absolutely.
In essence. Call it a building of multiple occupancy if you want. It was licensed to operate as a hotel. And of course, there is a clear and distinct difference between people that go for a stay in a hotel and people that are housed there.
Absolutely.
Very, very different outlook, behaviours, attitudes. No wonder different licensing applies.
I agree. And what's really interesting, that judgment, right, is going to be grabbed upon because all that you'll have to say in court is, well, it happened there, and they're going to have a real issue. I read something quite interesting. You know, the government tried to kick back by saying, oh, well, this has become political. Why didn't the Conservative Council Epping do this sooner? The fact of the matter is, what it said to me yesterday was, despite being smeared as far right by this government and by institutions, a bunch of mothers, naturally, maternally, wanting to protect their children and not wanting young men, a couple of alleged sexual assaults taking place, a hotel next to a school, have shown that by standing up and getting the right support, you can effect change. And I gave a quote yesterday from a text. I'm going to give it to you, and you will understand this. Somebody wrote and said to me, Jez, this is a seminal moment. When the silent majority in this country realise their voice can be heard, the sitting government's in trouble. I think it's brilliant.
Mothers, fathers,
yeah,
aunties, uncles,
yeah,
grandparents, sons, daughters, and look very carefully at the footage, faces brown, black and white, all united together in their deep, deep concerns about having these people housed in that hotel. And do you know what? When you talk about the silent majority, the people that I generally call the moderate mainstream of Britain.
Yep.
Do you know what? We've got lead in our weapons, and our weapons are that pencil with which we put an X in the box.
Absolutely.
Each time there is a council or a general or a police and crime commissioner election. That is where our power comes from.
Completely.
We are not going to throw bricks at police officers. No. We are not going to burn down hotels.
No.
We are not going to break the law. But so many now may be rising up and saying, we don't want this. A court has supported those people in Epping. Why should they not support people the length and breadth of the land?
I agree. I was gobsmacked. I thought we're going to have another lefty judge. It'll be a stitch-up by the institutions. Take this from Ronald, though, because I get this side. He says, what they will do now, in my humble opinion, is fast-track them all and give them asylum so they can give them social housing, and then all their families will come over as well, and British people who have been, Indigenous people who have been renting will be on the streets. That's the next issue for this government, because they made a big thing, didn't they, Pete? They said, because people were saying we want them done, the Labour Party said we want these people out of hotels. Where are you going to put them? It goes back to the same thing again. We are moving at speed here. 10 years ago, you couldn't mention the word immigration. You were called every word under the sun. As of yesterday, it is acceptable to say, as a parent, I am concerned that young men who come from a different culture, who don't understand or respect what happens in this country, who have got in illegally, several have been committing crimes and sexual assaults allegedly. We have a right as parents and people to want to protect our communities. This government, if it doesn't listen, this government, people will laugh. This government will fall if it doesn't listen. I genuinely am telling you that the British people will find their voice. And you're so right to say it. I find the most despicable thing about Starmer and his ilk, right, is that they label anybody that disagrees with them as far right. I've said it on this show before. When the last election was on and Nigel Farage was talking about low taxes, strong military, strong army, strong police, somebody in the Tory and Labour were going, oh, far right. It's not far right. That's sensible. If you, as a politician, don't read the room, you will be out. And reading the room right now in this country, they're not racist. They're not anti-people. They're prepared to help anybody. But they are looking at what's going on in their own lives and they're saying this is unfair and unjust and unsafe and wrong. And we want you, as our elected officials, to do something about it, because if you don't, you're gone. You're toast. Fact.
And it is my duty as a broadcaster to remind yourself and your audience that there is one such illegal migrant currently in custody awaiting trial on a charge of murder of a young woman who worked in a hotel.
Yep.
Innocent till proven guilty, of course, but awaiting trial, as well as others who have been charged with very serious sexual offences. And, of course, some people have already been convicted of crimes. I am not for one moment suggesting everybody is a sexual predator that comes in on one of those dinghies, but it is absolutely right to work on the theory that they are coming from places...
How do you know who people are?
Exactly. What are their backgrounds?
And I hate the fact that the left... Well, some woman took me on yesterday and said, you're assuming that everybody that comes from a certain land is this, that, and the other. I said, no, I'm not. But when there is irrefutable proof that these young men who have different views are coming into this country, we haven't vetted them, we don't know who they are... You feel like saying to some people, have you got a child, have you? Have you got a daughter? Because I have. And I'm sorry, I will do anything to protect my kids. Fact. End of. Not even having a debate. Let's take a call if you're all right with that. East Yorkshire. Patrick, you're on drive time. Myself and Mr. Blexley. What do you want to say, pal?
Yeah, I'm an ex-copper myself, so Mr. Blexley's a star for me. I've got 3 points, Jez, so don't cut me off. First one is the lawyers are going to be all over this hotel thing. And... if they don't conform to the hotel laws, what about if the hotel owners just turn around and said to the migrants, well, we'll charge you £1 a day? Does that put them back into the hotel category? You know, it's going to stink. It's going to stink. We don't like it. And if we don't like what we're doing, we need to process them. Nightingale hospitals were built within days.
About 30 seconds.
Yeah, so why can't we put them all into Nightingales? and build them up and put them in some area on the top of the North York Moors or somewhere.
Can I
Ship
jump
them all
in?
there.
Can I jump in? Because you said don't cut you off. I'm not. I'll tell you, I mean, I've said it for weeks. I don't know what Pete thinks of it. Some people look at me when I say what I feel, and they look at me like I've landed from Mars. I would get the biggest liner you can find that's been decommissioned, and I would do it out. I would train a crack team of 2,000 Border Force people within an inch of their lives. I would put the Royal Navy in the Channel, and any boat that comes over, the people would not set foot in this country. They would be put on the boat. They would be processed within 24 hours. And those who are illegal would not be put in a hotel. They would be sent to a detention centre, as you quite rightly say, Patrick, that is not bending over backwards to make you feel good. It's a detention centre from whence I absolutely believe, PB, that message would filter back and suddenly we wouldn't be the soft bleeding touch we are, because you will not convince me anything else than the pull to come here is so much greater. The deterrent is to make it less attractive, surely.
Couple of points, if I may. The special boat service don't get anything like the coverage, airtime, television dramas made about them than the SAS do. But the SBS, the Special Boat Service, are the elite of the absolute creme de la creme that work on the seas, on the rivers, in the boats, and they are awesome. Truly, truly awesome. In terms of achieving anything at sea, nothing is beyond the capabilities of the SBS. Likewise, Royal Marines are very highly trained. The Navy is highly trained. If we had a government with courage that was willing to challenge the status quo, but having declared a state of emergency, this could all be so very different. My second point, if I may, Patrick makes me smile. You can tell he's ex-old Bill. You know why? Because he's already one step ahead, looking, as you would do when you arrest someone. You look at what the possible escape routes are for them when they face a charge. And Patrick's already going, well, I'll look to cut off that escape route and cut off that escape route.
You've made Blexley smile, Patrick.
And he's thinking about that £1 a day. Proper cop.
It's the old style, mate. It's the old style. And thirdly, when was the last time you went abroad without the hotel receptionist saying, "Can I see your passports, please?"
Mate, absolutely. I mean, I've said it for months. I think that we can sit here and pretend there isn't a problem. This station won't. I think plenty of the mainstream media will. And I keep getting back to it, to both of you, really. Unless the British government or politicians in their entirety start to read the room, the British people, and yesterday was really important, the British people are going to start voting soon. They've been heard, they've made a difference. They're not rabbles, they're not far-right thugs, they're just people who pay their taxes and live their lives, and they feel, I think, as if it's really unfair. Patrick in East Yorkshire, thank you very much indeed. So many people, just for you, Pete, as well. Liam, just got back from 2 weeks in Turkey where all the locals are saying your country is ridiculous. Why would you let all illegal people in and give them free accommodation, free medical care, free food, free phones, and use all wonder... And you wonder why people are trying to get into the country. They said your country is crazy. You need to stop this. That's the majority view of people I met in Turkey. Dorothy's in Ascot. The government has not just broken the law for hotels. They break the law with HMOs, which also need planning permission, fire escapes, bathrooms, kitchens, etc. Also licensing conditions, which can only be done within the local authority itself, not government control. So every local council would have breached these laws, and they need exposing.
Possibly, yes. The restrictions around houses of multiple occupancy are very, very strict indeed. I've got a mate of mine who set up such one as part of his property portfolio. And yes, the restrictions, as they should be rather, are very, very tight. You have to have fire escapes and all the sort of things that you would expect when you've got a lot of people living in a home that was originally conceived for being occupied by a lower number of people.
Completely. Gary's in Bolden. Be careful what we wish for, Jez, regarding the illegals and their hotels. This government will no doubt not deport them. They'll spread them out into the country in HMOs. Crime would then increase. That's interesting. I've got to say to Mick in Wallington, I completely agree with this. I'm a fervent royalist, PB.
Yep.
I was absolutely astounded 4 weeks ago when Macron was coming over and our king said, we don't have a border with France. And I thought to myself, mate, you want to be really careful. Your mother would never have said that. A kingdom has to have a border. If you don't have a border, you haven't got a kingdom. He says, Jez, I know you're a royalist, but King Charles surely must speak out about the insult to our flags. It's a load of tosh to say they were dangerous. The flags were taken down by infiltrators in our country and councils. Why is our king not protecting the flag? That's a great point. As is this. Jason, a voice note on migrants. Go.
just a quick question on the asylum seekers. If they can afford to pay £5,000 to smugglers to get them over on a boat, surely it'd be cheaper for them to get a flight over here and safer. Obviously, but then they'll have a passport and we know where they come from and we know who they are. But when they come on a boat, they've got nothing.
It's interesting, isn't it?
I just love your audience. The talk audience are magnificent.
They're just switched on, man.
The points they raise with such clarity, it is an honour to sit here and listen to these people.
I'm gonna break some news that will shock a few people. In fact, I literally have started to perspire. Breaking news on Talk Drive. Two Labour-run councils have just been reported as considering legal action due to the government's migrant policy. The Wirral and Tamworth in the Midlands are seeking legal advice to take the government on. You know House of Cards? You know the big thing of sweets or Lego, right? This will crumble for Starmer. If Labour councils are considering legal action, he's in the poop.
But this builds perfectly upon what you've said, because this is now, with the uprise of the people, the swell of public opinion, a tide which is quite frankly unstoppable at the moment, these Labour councillors, and you see Labour MPs, they want to cover their own backs. They want to keep their positions.
Absolutely.
And they know that the way to do that is to fall in line with public opinion. It comes as no surprise to me.
0344 499 1000. Peter Blexley here for another 5 minutes. Faith in the police crumbles as less than half think officers are doing a good job. That was an annual crime survey. And of course, on the back of the flags argument this week, because we have Birmingham, you can't put a flag up because it's health and safety. The pole might fall on your head. You can't do it in Tower Hamlets. The mayor, by the way, who got done for election fraud 10 years ago, he allows Palestinian flags, but not British ones. Police, though, they're not bothered about crimes. No, they're investigating a St George's flag being painted in a roundabout in Birmingham. What is wrong with your ex-colleagues? What's wrong with them?
I could not possibly condone criminal damage, which is how this crime has been logged and what they're going to investigate.
So what if you painted a flag over the potholes? Would the police come out and rub that out and fill it in, or what?
Perfect line, and I suggest everybody that's got a pothole in their street, get out and paint it with a St George's cross.
You heard it here from Blexley.
Let's see how quickly they come and fill them in. It's brilliant. But there's a real sad story here, because, believe it or not, I still have a great affection for the job of policing.
Sure.
Once you've done it for as long as I did, and many people did it for a lot longer, it sears itself into your very psyche. It breaks my heart to see what somebody described recently as activist officers. You know, the ones that got their degree at university and therefore had their heads full of pseudo-intellectual Marxist claptrap, you know, and they see somebody in the street carrying an axe and they go, well, they've got a mental health care plan. Do we really have to arrest them? You know, do me a favour. These kind of people shouldn't be anywhere near policing. It comes as no surprise the public trust is tanking. As long as the police decide that they want to police free speech, which is not their job, as long as they decide that they want to ideologically kind of favour one side or another in a protest, for example, and they are seen to do that, then it's only going to get worse. We need to get out the entire upper echelon of senior policing. We need a re-education programme. I sound like some kind of communist, don't I? we need a re-education programme of senior policing. Then it will filter down, and then we might get back to policing being the blue-collar job that is for the people, serving the people, keeping the streets safe and locking up bad people.
And do you know when Peter Blexley, ladies and gentlemen, just to finish this particularly brilliant segment, because I love having him on, and if you think that's great, wait till our next guest. Peter Blexley can arrest some of the worst criminals, do some of the most interesting undercover work, and can be a broadcaster, but he's most offended, ladies and gentlemen, by the potential death of the Bakewell tart.
Which is why... Russell.
This won't work on the radio, but what have you got in there? Have you brought one with you?
Two, because I thought one for you, one for me.
Sod the gluten, I'm having it, I'm starving.
I'm a generous kind of man.
Let's have a look at your tarts.
feel free to delve in there and help
I'm just going to
yourself.
delve into your tart. Thank
There
you.
you
Look
go.
at that. Look at that.
Enjoy that. I love a Bakewell tart.
Do you? OK.
Yes.
Well, climate change could kill off the authentic Bakewell tart. A manufacturer's claim today the cherry-top Derbyshire pudding, it's not a pudding, is it? Is now being produced without almonds by some makers because of supply chain problems linked to global warming. They
In
can't get the
California.
almonds.
They can't get the almonds. Almonds, I don't know.
What do you say?
Tomatoes,
Almonds, almonds?
I say tomatoes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Scone or scone?
It's a catastrophe.
A catastrophe.
Humankind, surely, the smart
I
people,
try it.
must be able to come up with some kind of solution to this. And I don't mean an Ed Miliband solution.
So the almond went on top because my old girl
No, it
used to
goes
make...
into it. Goes into it. It's part of the icing, isn't it? That's why you get that
In it?
lovely flavour when you bite
Have you
into
ever
it.
made a Bakewell tart, or does Mrs. Blexley do the
No,
baking?
but I've munched a few, as you can clearly see.
Yes,
by-
and
by
munched a
my
few tarts.
waistline.
Yes, he's munched a few tarts. So this is dramatic. Climate change could kill Bakewell tarts. But Duncan Kirk, owner of the Bakewell tart shop in Bakewell, Derbyshire, told that a true Bakewell definitely depends on real almonds. This is a tragic moment in the history of the Bakewell tart.
To hell with the economy, to hell with this lamentable government, arguably the worst ever.
Yes.
To hell with migration concerns. Save the Bakewell tarts, please.
Mrs. Kyle's been on. What she want? Back from Swanage, watching you on TV. The kids love Punch and Judy. Not a migrant in sight, watching it. That's what the wife just said. They watch Punch and Judy, not a migrant in sight, and I'm munching on a Bakewell tart. Ollie, Iris, love you both. Peter Blexley, what a legend. Do I get to munch on the tart then?
It's entirely yours. Enjoy
Peter
it.
Blexley cannot be named as a warm-up man, but coming next, the legend that is Mike Graham on Talk Drive. Back in 3.
If there was a peace, so-called peace agreement, and he kept territory, which I think is an abomination when you think that he invaded.
Agreed.
If he did that, he'll come back for more. I mean, Hitler did that. He does that. All the dictators of history never give up because they believe they're right, and they will do whatever it takes. They don't care about human life. There's 1 million people that have been killed or injured as a result of his invasion on the Russian side alone, and something like 300,000 to 400,000 killed or wounded on the Ukrainian side because he decided to go to war with them.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Don't understand the wife's been on again. Oh, God, didn't realise you were going on holiday. What? There you go. Yeah, back from Swanage. Yeah, bless her. There you go. Anyway, the truth is, Oliver and Iris went to watch brilliant Punch and Judy on the beach today in Swanage.
I'm surprised it has been banned.
Well, it hasn't been banned, Mrs. Carl says, and she's delighted to report not a migrant in sight.
Right, well, they're not keen on Punch and Judy, probably.
Why not?
It's not their kind of thing, is it?
Do you know one of the worst things you can do when you're trying to do a radio programme is not only eat, but I've been hoisted by my own petard because I've bitten into my lip, my side of my mouth, and I've got blood pouring down the back.
You can start looking like Keir Starmer in a minute.
Oh, he just said it right in his ear, yes. I'd like to say, 5,
I mean,
4.
I can't eat anything when I'm going to go on the air because otherwise I just spit stuff everywhere. So the only thing I can eat without...
You'd learn to swallow.
Yes, the crumbs I'm talking about. You know,
I was going to say, why did Jodie turn around at that particular moment?
I don't know. I can eat a banana. So the only thing I can eat is a banana because it's soft enough that it doesn't...
But you've gone quite healthy. I mean, we just did some photos, but we should say something subtly.
Yes.
You're going away next week.
I am.
And for 4 days, you unlucky people, I'm doing
lucky
breakfast.
People. Yes.
Starting next Friday.
Yes.
Wake up.
You'll be great. You'll love it, won't you?
I used to do it.
I know.
For a long time. So we're going to do that. And then on Thursday, we're going to have a little announcement, aren't we?
We are going to have a little
Fingers
announcement.
crossed.
Yes,
Quite
absolutely.
exciting.
Yeah, it's going to be very exciting.
And the reason I brought that up is we just did a photo shoot and you have changed immeasurably on this banana-eating, working out diet thing.
Well, the thing is, I just, for no particular reason, I got sort of pointed in the direction of this personal trainer guy, and somebody said to me, why don't you go and give it a go? And I'd never been in a gym in my life.
No.
I never thought I ever would, because I thought people who go to gyms are boring types, I'd rather be in the pub. But then I suddenly realised, well, hang on a minute, get on a bit now. And,
if I spend a bit of time in the gym, I can spend more time in the pub.
And I can still go to the pub, but I'll be relatively healthy. And I started doing it, and I suddenly really liked it. And he's brilliant. And his name's Arthur. He's from Latvia.
He's called Arthur, isn't he, basically?
But he's one of the guys. We talk about this all the time with the girls downstairs who came from Poland, made a business. This is exactly what he's done.
Absolutely.
And he works every single hour when he finishes in the gym.
I'm proud of probably being in this country.
Very proud of being in this country.
Absolutely.
He's paying his taxes. He's he's working very, very hard. When he goes home, he's got 2 more businesses that he's trying to run. A proper, ambitious immigrant who wants to come to this country and make something of himself.
And that's very salient.
And those are the people that we want here.
And to be fair, let's make a point that people say we don't make on Talk enough, which is that this country has always welcomed and should always welcome people who enhance. Enhance is my word of the day. And bring value to this country.
Absolutely.
But what we have now is migrants, illegal migrants, who don't enhance this country. They spend their entire time bashing this country, trying to change this country, trying to implement stuff that we were told they wanted to get away from. And committing crime and ripping us off financially. And when you say that, people go, oh, it's a bit harsh. It's not, it's true, isn't it?
And menacing and molesting women. I'm sorry to say that, but that's what they're doing. Many of them have been charged.
It's not just you said that. Baroness Casey said that. The Labour government have said that.
Well, statistics say it. We now know from which countries these men are coming who are most likely to commit those kinds of sexual attacks. And it's there in black and white. You can't deny it anymore.
Really interesting. Yesterday, just as the show started and we grabbed you in, it was fantastic. That massive news about Epping. You said it this morning on breakfast. We were pretty likely to believe that a tsunami, excuse the pun, of councils. Now there's 12 reform councils, we reckon, and Nigel's already said that's going to happen. Broxbourne Council last night, a Tory council, taking legal action because under the premise of Epping, every single council could say to the government, we don't want these migrants. And I thought Peter made a really good point. Interestingly, in the last 15 minutes, Labour-run Wirral Council, Labour-run Wirral Council are considering legal action. When you've got a Labour council listening to the people who voted them because they want to keep their jobs and going against what their own government is saying, then you're in for change.
Well,
Total change.
You can tell the mood of the nation has visibly and quite remarkably switched, right? It's gone from being sort of, hands in your pockets, things aren't so great. What's the point? I go to work. People are now thinking, hang on a minute, we can actually stop this. We can change this. We can get, because I was talking to Ryan, your producer, if more and more of these hotels have to be shut down, where are all these people going to go? There's nowhere for them to go.
Be deported. That'll be the next thing.
Be deported, put in a camp, not in a house.
Detention centre. Seriously,
army barracks.
Yes.
Somewhere, anywhere, but not in hotels.
But don't throw the veterans out, as I've heard, which makes me sick.
Exactly. And the point is the government is going to have to realise, and Starmer, I haven't been monitoring his Twitter today, Starmer has still never really acknowledged this is a problem. He's going to have to start doing it.
His hand will be forced.
Yeah.
And what's, I understand the fear, by the way. People are saying, they're still going to be in communities and it's dangerous. I get that. But I said it to you earlier, I said it yesterday, great tweet, that guy saying, when the silent majority realise they've been heard, they will now know that there is a majority of people in this country that not just don't want these people in these hotels, they don't want them in social housing, and if they're criminals and unvetted, we don't want them in our country.
Exactly.
So the pressure will build and build, and in fact Starmer is in a position I'm sure he didn't ever think he was going to be in, but it comes from not having done anything at all to sort it out.
And in fact, worse than that, actually encouraging more people to come, because one of the things that he did with his one in, one out process is
I thought it was 17 in and 1 out.
Well, it's actually been 2,500 in and none out since he announced it, right? But what he's basically done, and I said this at the time, is he's created more demand now because people have got the idea that if they get to Calais and they can prove that they know somebody in Britain, which is not that hard to do, they can get here legally. So they won't even have to take a small boat because, his plan is to kick out the guys who don't belong here and then to replace them with somebody else. It's madness.
It's utter madness, and I think that their policy is in tatters. And
the whole government is in tatters.
Yeah,
frankly,
I agree. Did you the flag thing we were talking about earlier? We were talking about on Plank, which is out Friday, 7 o'clock. Fantastic episode, I've got to say. Police are investigating St George's Cross being painted a roundabout. Not people being raped or attacked or burgled or having their shops ransacked. Police have launched an investigation after St George's Cross was painted on a mini roundabout. This is in Bromsgrove in Worcestershire. The video has been shared amid a growing movement that has seen members of the public display patriotic flags in towns and cities. West Mercia Police confirmed that it was investigating it as criminal damage and graffiti.
Do me a favour.
What was the name of that bloke on GMB I just had to sit through on Plank of the Week?
Cahind Andrews. He's the guy, he's the professor from Birmingham University.
This is appalling, ladies and gentlemen.
Who was on Breakfast on ITV this week, saying basically that the British flag is a symbol of racism. The British flag and the St George's flag are symbols of oppression from his forebears and his ancestors around the world.
And everybody who supports them is far right.
Yeah, and everyone that supports them is far right. And he says that this movement to put flags up is actually now being run by a load of racists. I mean, that's basically his take on it.
And he was on ITV saying that.
He was.
With no counter at all. Did you see that?
Yeah, I didn't see anybody arguing with him.
No.
Or saying, hang on a minute.
And it very calmly asks that question that I keeps going around in my head. Why are you in my country then if it's so appalling?
Well,
why do you want to be here?
I'm sure he would say it's his country as well.
Fine, but why do you... if you want to be in a country, then support the flag.
Well, you would think so. And somebody said to me, nobody asked him about the Palestinian flag, which is being flown around willy-nilly wherever you go, in all sorts of different parts of the country.
This is interesting. In the last 20 minutes, we've asked the Home Office for an updated statement on the asylum hotel situation, because we had a statement yesterday from Dame Angela Eagle, the Border Security Minister, yesterday. What we received, ladies and gentlemen, this is really interesting, 25 to 5 to tell you, is we received a copy and paste job from the Home Office press officer, exactly the same statement as Angela Eagle put out yesterday. This government, I don't know why I've done the voice, she doesn't sound like that at all. This government inherited a broken asylum system. At the peak, there were 400 hotels. We'll continue to work with local authorities and communities to address legitimate concerns. Our work continues to close all asylum hotels by the end of this Parliament. No more comment.
By the end of this Parliament, that's 2029.
We will carefully consider this judgment. As this matter remains subject to ongoing legal proceedings, it would be inappropriate to comment further at this stage.
See, they hide behind this rubbish all the time. It's not inappropriate to comment on legal proceedings if they're, one, not criminal, and two, not worthy of being seen by a jury. Because you can only influence a jury, you can't influence a judge. They talk such nonsense.
It is nonsense. And what's really interesting is as well, right, is I think I get people's concerns about the rental market, I get the people's concerns about everything, but I do think I sort of left it with a slight spring in my step last night because I thought to myself, do you know what? This will wake people up. And all the people say, well, what are you advocating? No, we're not advocating anything. I hate the far right. I hate the far left. I don't want to see anybody throw stuff at police or break into people's properties or smash windows. But you'll never convince me that mothers and fathers who are concerned about their young teenage daughters don't have a right to go on the streets and go, enough is a bleeding enough.
And here's what's going to happen as well. If they don't sort out this mess that they've created, because they have created
they have. Yeah.
And if they start putting people into private homes, into multiple occupancy dwellings, as they call them, people will find out where they are and people will go and demonstrate there.
Yeah, they
because
will.
That's the mood of the nation.
And we don't want that.
And we don't want that.
No.
So they're going to have to take a very, very considered look at this and say and decide, you know, do you want to have riots in the street, or do you want to make sure that the country remains a safe haven for decent, hard-working people, and you kick these scumbags out?
Before we talk about Rachel Reeves, because I know you've got a couple of presents for her, did you hear the part with Peter Blexley about the Bakewell tart?
Well, I heard the Bakewell
climate
tart
change could kill off the authentic.
When they say climate change, they say it affects the food supply chain. Is that what they mean?
Yeah, can't get almonds. We're buggered.
So I've got some almonds at home, which I've had for ages. I bought them to make a dish some years ago,
so many
a couple of years
skills
ago, and I didn't. I've still got them. I've never made the dish.
When Granny died, Vic and I went round to empty the house because Granddad said, "I'm going to the pub." I said, "But your wife, you've got to clear the house." I'm not doing that. He said, "We found 735 like jam jars,
really,
full of
all
seeds,
sorts of things,
nuts, sultanas, whatever, cannabis." No, I'm joking. Neil in Stoke says, "Sorry, Jezza, it's a Bakewell pudding, not a tart." Did you know that?
I've always called them a Bakewell tart, but I presume a pudding would be something different, wouldn't it?
I would have thought that.
Pudding is not made usually from short crust pastry. It's normally made from suet pastry.
Oh, gee, what?
Yes.
Vic, help me out. Mike's turning into bleeding Gordon Ramsay. Almonds not... What? No, Pete. Almonds not part of the icing, part of the filling. I make them frequently. The lads in this house love them, says Maria.
Yeah.
Perhaps my favourite one is interesting, from Boom Boom. Terence. He says, "I'm off to Tenerife for my holidays because I love a tart baked well." So that's obviously
very nice.
Very good.
I see what you did there.
Right, Rachel Reeves, Richard III,
yes.
The Economist, the world's worst mathematician has. Well, it's sort of come to pass that she's under fire because. Well, our borrowing has hit its highest level in 27 years. And in basic sort of lay persons, I'm not allowed to say layman's anymore, am I?
You can.
In basic layman's terms, right? We're being taxed a lot more, which should give the government a lot more money.
Yes.
But they're skint.
Yeah. And
which makes you question what she's doing with it.
And again, more skint by the day.
Yeah.
And every month they borrow more money to pay off the interest on the money they borrowed last month.
Right.
And if anybody ran a business like that, or the household budget like that, you'd be literally in a debtor's court within about 6 months.
Anyway, I love this. This is
I've got
brilliant.
this lovely letter came in today from Cornwall, a lady by the name of Amanda.
We love you, Amanda.
Name, but Amanda, thank you very much indeed. I'm going to send you a little email back and say thank you. She sent in some books, which she thinks might be of some use to Rachel Reeves. There's this one here, which is a preschool special. Starting to add.
Yeah.
Or in this case, it's all starting to add up for Rachel Reeves.
Get rid of the thing because you can't see it. Age 3 to 5. Yeah, that's it. That's brilliant. That's starting to add. That's gold stars.
Age 3 to 5. Now, inside it tells you things like, you know, look at this, like 1 + 1 is 2.
2 tomatoes.
Yeah. But you see, in Rachel Reeves's world, right, you wouldn't have any tomatoes.
No,
right?
no. In Rachel Reeves' world, it would be 10 tomatoes minus 10 tomatoes equals plus 27 tomatoes, and we're going to give 13 of them to the migrants.
Yeah,
we're going to borrow another 12.
Yeah, and then give 5 to Ukraine. So you end up with how many exactly? No,
None.
You end up with negative tomatoes, right? And there's some ladybirds there. 3 + 1 = 4. It's pretty straightforward, this stuff, you know, but not in the world of the Chancellor of the Exchequer.
But she also, what your lovely listener did was we're trying to help Rachel Reeves assume intelligence. So we're going to send her.
Now we've got one slightly more complicated. This is 7+. This one.
Multiplication and division. There's a picture of her on the front. Rachel Reeves.
There she is on the front. Multiplication and division. And we go inside. Make learning at home fun because you don't have to work from the office anymore if you're in the civil service.
Why would you bother?
Oh, blimey, that's quite complicated. This.
Multiplying by 9. 1 times 9
1 times 9 is 5 billion. According to
1 times 10 is minus 5 billion.
Yeah.
10 times 10 is what we've given the French.
4 times 10 is how many people we've had to sack from the cabinet because they weren't properly qualified, as it turns out.
Space.
You know.
And there's a couple of turnips in there as well.
A couple of turnips, a couple of giraffes. There's no mention of
the brass neck of them.
What's his name? Reynolds. You know, the business secretary.
But he's a solicitor now, isn't he?
No, he's not a solicitor, but he can't add up either. Even more, if you get stuck, use something like building bricks or pencils to help you. Right?
What is the constipated? Do you know the constipated mathematician? He worked it out with a pencil. I'm so sorry, I don't even know.
Terrible.
It's awful.
Even for you, that's a bad one.
Low
so,
point.
yeah, you have to go to Angela Rayner's department if you want building bricks.
She's not there, though. Do you know where she is?
Where is she? In
Ethiopia.
Yeah, great at this time of year down that way. Yeah, because they haven't got any building bricks, so they're having to import those, unfortunately. As for the pencils, I think they're made in China. How about this? What do you notice about the answers in the 11 times table? If you're Rachel Reeves, they're all wrong. That's basically what you know about them.
Utterly brilliant.
And here you can test yourself. So Amanda's played an absolute blinder here.
Yeah.
And you can test yourself. So I'm going to send these over to number 11 Downing Street with best wishes from all of us here at Talk. And with best wishes for the budget, because there might be some things she hasn't thought of taxing yet.
It might give her an idea.
Might give her a couple of ideas.
And can I also just plug, because Mike is a legend, he's back tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock. We'll have an announcement in a week's time, but do watch Plank at 7 o'clock on Friday, because you'll find out, amongst other things, why Nicola Sturgeon, in this Sunday Times interview, is lying on a rug.
Yes, she is.
She likes a rug.
Not face down, though.
Morning, Glorious. Morning, Glorious, back at 6 a.m, back in 3.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Quality man, quality broadcaster. Mikey's back tomorrow morning. Morning Glory at 6 a.m. Drive is on till 7 if you want to be part of the debate. 0344 499 1000 on the phones. Text 87222. Send a voice note via the same number on WhatsApp like Jez did. Go.
Hello, Jezza. It's Jez here from Deal in Kent, a former Royal Marines officer myself, listening to you and Peter talking about what should be done in the Channel. All fantastic plans, but I'd go one step further. Peter mentions the Royal Marines, of course, and the SBS. I would suggest that once those migrants have been taken aboard the liner you talk of, Jezza, then they're unloaded into a Royal Marines landing craft and they're taken straight back to the beaches of northern France. Off you jog, off you get, and back on to the beaches of northern France from whence you came. And if the French complain, we can remind them that in 1944, they didn't complain about our landing craft landing on their beaches. Poetic justice.
Couldn't agree more, mate. I think Blexley was right. It's just refreshing to know that common sense seems to prevail, certainly on this station. Raise in Taunton, go.
I was sending tweets years ago to the Conservative government about using the Royal Marine and SBS raiding squadron, who have landing craft of various sizes, who could scoop the dinghies up, take them back to within about 100 yards of the French beach and push them off again. And then you wouldn't need a berth, and they're not going to shoot at the Marines or the SBS. And within a couple of days, this would stop, and the French could jump up and down all they liked.
It's really interesting, isn't it? Again, a lot of people will sit and call this show or call the station and say, well, there's no will amongst politicians, there's no answer. 2 viewers there with answers straight away. That's the point. There has to be an answer. And one thing, I genuinely believe this, and Mikey and I think everybody believes this, really, that listens and watches and works here. Yesterday was so important, and I'm going to keep saying it. Your voice can be heard. A council won against the Home Office. Other councils, we've heard this hour that Wirral Council, a Labour-run council, is taking legal advice to take on the government and remove migrants from its constituency ward. That's a Labour-run council. This is like the House of Bleeding Cars. Let's go to Reading. Robert, who was born in Reading?
You were.
I know I was, yeah, Coley Park.
Yeah, we chucked you out, didn't we?
What?
I heard they chucked you out.
Brilliant. OK. How are you?
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah, good. Well, I'm pleased to hear it. What do you want to say?
A bit worried what happens to the migrants when we run out of social housing, which won't take long.
Completely.
I fear they'll dust off legislation from 1945 when there were obviously lots of homeless people, lots of POWs wanted to stay here.
Mm-hmm.
And they decided anyone with a spare room had to take in a POW.
I think you have to bear in mind, I completely understand that point from 1945. I think what we have to bear in mind now is that, again, and I'm not building anything up, but I think the power of the people is really important. I think yesterday was a victory for people, and I think the government's real issue here, apart from having no plan and no guts and no motivation rather, is I don't think they're going to take being fobbed off anymore. I think the British public have reached a point where politicians are going to have to start to understand that this isn't just some crazy thing. There are millions and millions of people in this country who think it is unfair, unjust, unacceptable and unsustainable for thousands of men who we don't know who they are to come to our country. And I think that's going to make a massive difference. Robert in Reading, thank you very much, Steve. Dan on the migrant crisis, voice note, go.
If the government are forced to shut down all the hotels, they've got to find room for 30,000 migrants. Now, if they're going to put them into houses of multiple occupancy, let's just say there's 4 per house, they've got to find 7,500 houses. How's that going to work out?
Listen, our Prime Minister sat in front of that select committee a month ago. Did you see him? And he went, oh, there's plenty of houses. And even Meg Hillier, who's a Labour, runs the particular committee, said, well, where are they? And he went, well, we'll send you that information. They haven't got a plan. They've never had a plan. The Tories were appalling. Everybody that will jump up and down and say, quite rightly, we have a concern. Of course you've got a concern. It's down to the government to do something about it. And if they don't or can't or won't, the British people will speak. This is Talk Drive. If you want to be on, great first hour. 0344 499 1000. Text to 87222. We reported half an hour ago. The House of Cards, the hotels, the councils, after yesterday, 12 reform councils are taking legal advice, and Wirral Council, up north, well, it's Jodie's lot, Labour-run, are taking legal advice to take the government to court to get migrants thrown out of hotels. This would absolutely convince anybody and everybody that the Labour Party's migrant policy is in the crapper. Back in 3.
if there was a peace, so-called peace agreement, and he kept territory, which I think is an abomination when you think that he invaded.
Agreed.
If he did that, he'll come back for more. I mean, Hitler did that. He does that. All the dictators of history never give up because they believe they're right and they will do whatever it takes. They don't care about human life. There's 1 million people that have been killed or injured as a result of his invasion on the Russian side alone, and something like 300,000 to 400,000 killed or wounded on the Ukrainian side because he decided to go to war with them.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Tracy Sutcliffe says, Jez and Mike, a Bakewell tart and a Bakewell pudding. Pudding? What's a pudding? Two completely different things. Thanks, Trace. The police never investigated when a zebra crossing was painted in a rainbow colour, but a St George's Cross call out the detectives. Completely hypocrisy. Martin Spence. In Oxfordshire, any government that prioritises the welfare of foreigners above that of their own people is simply unfit to govern. Mick says Yvette Cooper held up a sign saying refugees welcome so she can take few into her two houses when they get kicked out of the hotels. Richard's in Oxfordshire. Jez, why don't they tag every illegal migrant as soon as they enter the hotels? Angela from London, anyone renting their house out to immigrants should be made to evict and have their right to let their property removed indefinitely. Rents and available properties are becoming more and more scarce and unaffordable for young families. Mike Bradley, weren't these hotels all leased on 3-year contracts? If we boot them all out now, surely the taxpayer will still be coughing up the bill. And Kenny from Edinburgh, hi Jez, I love Peter Blexley, but I think you are a moaning old lady who seriously needs to chill out. Come on, Betty Kyle, take a big deep breath and relax. JK and Pete, Starmer will really throw his dolly out the pram now. He's ignored the British people since day one. He will do nothing except let more in. Starmer, call a meeting now, you boring git. And Jez and Pete from Angela in London. Use abandoned warehouses and military bases, Nightingale centres, all gated and patrolled. No difference to France. Basic rations. That will soon stop them. Oh, Bill, what if the government says it's a state of emergency? We need to use the hotels. Great show. Thank you very much indeed. We are live across the UK. It's Talk Drive. We love having people on from The Sun. Their political correspondent, Martina Bett from The Sun, is next on Talk Drive. Martina, how are you?
Very good, Jeremy. How are you?
I'm all right. Did you get the pay rise from Elson? Was he nice to you after your wonderful performance?
Yes, he has been very nice.
Good.
Not the pay rise has not quite arrived, but we're still crossing our fingers.
Any grief, let us know. We were talking yesterday with a variety of people from The Sun, Thomas Godfrey and Jack Elsom as well, and The Sun has been following this whole migrant story, from finding people who were working in fast foods to that astonishing article you did last week where the guy, like on TikTok, showed how to get in the United Kingdom. If you look on the front of The Sun today and you look on fronts of other newspapers, it's pretty obvious, is it not, that this migrant hotel policy of Labour is literally in disarray. In the last hour we've heard that the Wirral Council, which is Labour, are taking legal advice. I think, I don't know what you think, this is going to absolutely reverberate because the British people have been heard, haven't they?
Absolutely. I mean, what happened yesterday could seriously undermine the government's national plan. As you mentioned, we got Labour-run Rural Council, but also Tamworth as well, and they both said that they are actively considering legal action against the Home Office over the use of these hotels. And it was quite interesting what your listener said, because you just read out his message where he said, if these hotels close and they're on 3-year contracts, are we still going to pay for these hotels even if they close? And then the other question that you were discussing just earlier about HMOs, because the Security Minister, Dan Jarvis, this morning, when he was asked, OK, so we can't put the people in the hotels, where are you going to put them? it couldn't bring himself to say that they were going to be housing HMOs, which is houses of multiple occupancy, which are usually reserved for students or for people on low incomes, right? Because that's much more politically toxic. But that's what's going to happen. And I'm not sure communities are going to be very happy with that.
But I think that's the issue. That's why the Sun's done such a great job, and why we'll keep talking about it, because it's all the government stood up and they said, and I quote, "We want to get the migrants out of hotels." They made that point, right? Yesterday, it's been foisted upon them. I don't think they've got an answer. And what will happen, again, in my humble opinion, is that a majority of British people will come to the assumption, even if they're there now, I don't know, is that the only way to deal with these people is to put them in detention centres, not hotels, that are basic, and so that they realise that we are not the soft touch that we've been telling people and showing people we are, Martina, because that way, listen, I don't understand it. I'd help anybody, but we're a soft bleeding touch, and it's come back and bitten us, I think.
And what I think is that for people, the sight of these HMOs in their towns being taken for asylum seekers, asylum seekers who have come here legally and are now treated as guests, paid for by the taxpayers. And this is all the while locals struggle to get on the housing ladder. There's a cost of living crisis. This really feels like, direct unfairness. And I think that's what people are fed up with. For the Labour government to solve this is going to be really difficult. Because as you say, pushing asylum seekers in detention centres, right? I mean, if you look across Europe, the way that the UK handles arrivals and accommodation for asylum seekers is very different to what, for instance, Italy does, to what Spain does, because they've got accommodation centres. There's no such thing as hotels. They've got a very quick dispersal system, and they use gyms, they use schools. And it's all down to, obviously, these big governments having, the states like Italy, they've got state-run buildings, right? They are owned by the state, whereas we don't have that. And that's the problem. But it's something that we've got to sort out, because clearly it's not sustainable with the numbers of...
It's really interesting from my point of view, because we've had successive governments who've said, we can't, or there's enough blocks put in place, or the opposition won't allow us, both sides. I'm told regularly by journalists from The Sun that actually there's not the will. Now they're going to be forced to, because the British people will not accept these people staying in communities, taking private rental properties from young people trying to rent who can't afford to be on the property ladder. Suddenly other councils will look and go, hold on a minute. You should hear this, by the way. Breaking news. I knew this was going to bleed and happen. Brighton and Hove City Council, yes, of course, has said that as a proud city of sanctuary, it will continue to welcome and support asylum seekers. Jacob Taylor, the local authority's deputy leader, has just said, as a proud city of sanctuary, we will always play our role in asylum seekers and provide a welcoming and support to those fleeing persecution and horrific circumstance, which many of us can thankfully overly imagine. Jacob Taylor, you idiot, right? Horrific... Persecution and horrific circumstances. Yeah, it's horrible on a beach in France because you've got a bloody tent and sometimes it rains. Do these people know what they're talking about? Seriously, man, I can't understand it.
Oh yeah, I mean that's the crux of it, because of course we are a welcoming country.
Yes.
But as you say, these people are not coming. They're not fleeing persecution because they should claim asylum in the first country they're in, and in this case would be France.
Yeah.
These are all arguments.
But I always say this, Martin. I don't know if you agree. We've got to be quick. But if I was escaping a war-torn country or persecution, I would bring my wife and kids with me. I wouldn't leave them to be bombed. And also, as you said, the first country I got where I wasn't having a bomb rain on me head, I'd go, oh, that's great. But no, let's come to Great Britain. Can I thank you, by the way, at The Sun, all of you. You're doing such a great job on these stories, and we'll keep them coming. And it's great to have you on. Thank you so much indeed. And tell Elsom to give you a pay rise, or I'll be around and sort him out. The excellent. Thank you. What a lovely, lovely lady. I really enjoyed having her on. Thank you very much indeed. Right, almost 5 o'clock. We're live across the UK with Talk Drive. You want to be part of the debate? As ever, Joe taking your calls, 0344 499 1000. Ryan doing your voice notes, same number. Do it on WhatsApp. You can text, of course, 87222. I would say the Labour government's migrant policy is in disarray. Council after council lining up to take legal advice. We heard this hour, Labour run the Wirral. It's all going to change, News next.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Minutes past 5, hour 2 of Drive for Wednesday, live across the UK on Talk. Thank God for Talk, the home of free speech, but most of all, common sense. And yesterday, the judge who agreed with Epping Council that migrant men shouldn't be put in hotels yards from a teenage secondary school where a young girl was allegedly, well, 2 of them sexually assaulted, allegedly, has drawn huge credit, that judge, and has really created a sort of massive problem for the Labour government. There are 12 reform councils. Nigel Farage has already said, we will be seeking legal advice to see if we can achieve the same. Everybody, a lot of people are saying councils, Broxbourne Council yesterday. This hour, we'll be speaking to somebody from Spelthorne Council. They're the latest to seek legal advice. They're around the Heathrow area, and there's a hotel there, the Stanwell Hotel. We're speaking to one of the Conservative councillors at 5:25 who's taking action. Last hour, we discovered on Talk Drive, Wirral, the Wirral Council, which is Labour run. Labour run. This is brilliant. This is like blancmange. This is like, honestly, it's going to wobble. Why did I say that? Wobble, wobble, wobble. What else wobbles apart from blancmange? Brilliant. Jodie, no. See, I've lost my train of thought now. The Wirral, if a Labour council's doing it, we're in trouble. I loved blancmange when I was a kid. Is it better than Angel Delight? Why am I talking crap? 0344 499 1000. I know that when you lot get something in your head, that's it. You lot are based entirely on migrants. Tony's in Bradford. Go.
Hi, Jeremy. Tony from Bradford here. Great show as usual. You're doing a fantastic job. Keep it up, mate. Keep it up. You know, it's such joy, this horrible anti-British Socialist Party. I've just lost it in the courts with the hotels. This is great. But the only thing I'm worried about now, they're going to start shifting all these illegal immigrants around the country, shoving them in housing that's meant for the British people. Let's just hope that doesn't happen, and the people must rise up and stop this happening. Because where these illegals go, crime goes up. We need to get this party out. We need to get the people on the street and protesting peacefully, mind, to get these immigrants out of this country, shipped back, and give this government a bloody nose.
Did he say shipped back? Good. Maggie Pickering, do you think the government will change the law, Jez, so that hotels don't need this specific planning permission to house migrants? If migrants in hotels at the moment learn they'll be detained in army camps, they will abscond, which will suit the government at less cost. I would suggest that rather than allowing them to abscond, if they got to know they were going to end up in a detention centre before they came here, it would stop that. Have we found out yet in the news? Because I was talking. Who is it that says we shouldn't put... Oh, Mohammed Aziz, refugee, we shouldn't put people in detention centres. He's entitled to his opinion, I'm entitled to mine. I think we're a soft touch and it might actually have an impact. Mark, a voice note, go!
After the stunning decision yesterday by the court about the migrant hotels, I started to wonder, is there anything in the planning that would also mean that they couldn't use HMOs? So I've been having a look today, and to my delight, there is. If councils will use Article 4 of the Town and Country Planning Act 1990 and put what's called a forced direction on in their area, that would mean that no private houses that are rented out as houses can be turned into HMOs without planning permission, which of course the council could then accept or deny. That also means the government can't go around hoovering up lots of properties for rent and just turning them into HMOs on the quiet.
I'll tell you what, you lot are doing your homework. Mark on the migrant crisis, that might be used by KC02. Did he say forced direction during that call? My hearing's gone. We've had shipped out and Ryan, dreadful, awful language. 0344 499 I'll have to use the what's it button on you. What's it called? The delay button. Dump, yes. No, not now, surely. 0344 499 1000. I thought he was away. He's back. He's a cornerstone of this show, and I felt almost naked without him. We say a very good afternoon to former government special advisor James Price. JP, you're back.
It's very good to be back with you, sir. Away from the land of the free, but back with you, the land of free speech.
We were not. It was quite interesting. We had Harry Cole live from DC when I'd have loved you to have been on when the leaders arrived to talk about Ukraine. there were more English flags around the front door of the White House than you're allowed in the United Kingdom. And I came out with a comment that everybody thought was hysterical because we were watching all the European leaders come in and the French arrived last, which is what I said they always tend to. The fence sitters, don't they? JP, welcome back. Yesterday was monumental for our viewers and our listeners. They went absolutely nuts for this Epping decision. I think there's genuine concern, pal. I'm sure you would understand and share that what will happen now if they're thrown out of these hotels. Will it be HMOs? Will it be, rental properties? I know what I do. I deport them. I think this is the beginning of the end. And I think, I kept saying it yesterday, I think that once the silent majority know they can make a difference, then the government is in real trouble. It looks, we've heard in the last hour, Wirral, which is a Labour council, taking legal advice, 12 Reform councils already, Broxbourne, Spelthorne Council, we're speaking to it a bit, they're taking legal advice. The Labour Party, don't get me wrong, you lot didn't sort this, but the Labour Party have had this coming. The minute they went, we're going to move these people out of migrant hotels. We're not going to tell you where we're putting them, though, because we haven't got a plan. They're in trouble now, aren't they, pal?
They are in massive trouble, and everybody saw this coming, in particular you and me. We've been saying this for weeks and weeks now. What happens if this one gets shut? Well, it's a kind of whack-a-mole. These people will end up being put somewhere else. The thing about this is, do you know how many asylum seekers, according to the latest data we've got? There's a new tranche of data out tomorrow morning, actually. The most recent is from March. But any guesses how many so-called asylum seekers are currently in Britain?
30,000.
It's 106,771, according to the last year. So when you start talking about, we'll put a couple of hundred here, we'll put a couple of hundred over there, it's not going to touch the sides. The only thing that's going to work, as you say, is getting these people out on deportation flights. So you can look at someone like Guy Dampier at the Prosperity Institute, who's done some great work on this. Just if you had the political will, how many flights basically you could get going out of Heathrow and other places to get these people away? And
political will is where we're at. Political will is where we're at. My criticism of your party in government was they might have had an idea with Rwanda. I didn't necessarily agree with it, but they didn't do it strongly enough or quickly enough. I'm so glad you're back, and I'm so glad you brought that up, because we can talk about something that's really simple to me. Martin Waddington says, keep them offshore, lease prison boats from the USA. They'll soon be begging for a boat back to France. I talked about putting the Navy in the Channel, picking everybody up onto a reconstituted liner with a heavily trained border force. I could do that in 3 months. Crack team, 24 hours. If you're coming in, we'll welcome you. If you're not, you're going to a detention centre. Whatever that Mohammed gentleman said is his opinion. Mine is, if you made it less attractive to be in the United Kingdom, that would filter back and people would stop going, oh, they're soft as whatever them. That's what we need, isn't it? Toughening up a bit.
Yeah, absolutely right. Political will is everything. It's at the heart of everything. Yeah. And maybe I've been accused of being too negative and too doomerist on everything all the time. So let me inject a small amount of hope. Just come back from the United States. One, in the United States, it shows that political will can turn things around very quickly. It was clearly, you can see it there now, a deliberate act to let the tens of millions of people in across the southern border by the old Biden administration. And Trump has sealed the border very, very easily. That's point number one. Point number two, unlike the Americans, we never fibbed about George III being a tyrant, so we don't have any silly checks and balances in place. They've got to worry about getting 2 different houses of Congress and all that other kind of stuff. We can just, with a simple parliamentary majority, do whatever we want. So an elected government can do whatever we want. That's the secret efficiency of the British Constitution. So we get a party, whether it's a Conservative party, a Reform party, a coalition of those two, whatever it is, that has the political will to do it. Boom, we can do it very, very quickly. You can write the bills, you can do all this stuff, scrap all the old bills, all the rest of it, and get this stuff sorted. And given that we've done almost nothing really to stop these people coming over or to stop a huge swathe of other big serious problems, if we even start pushing back a little bit, I think it could be remarkable just how quickly we can turn the tide and stop the rot, to mix my metaphors there a little bit.
Can I ask you a question, having worked, as a government special advisor, and I've asked you this before, people say this to me, I don't understand. Political will. Are politicians of all sides so removed from reality, so disinterested in what people care about, or so or incapable of reading a room? To me, and we've been saying it, you've been saying it for 3 years, the word immigration 10 years ago you labelled a racist. This is absolutely the most important thing to millions and millions of Brits who are, I repeat again, not far right, they're not racist, they want to protect their kids, they want a fair crack of the whip, they don't understand why they're being treated worse than people who haven't paid anything. And I don't know, I mean, can you put that back up, Ryan, the Brighton and Hove Albion? Have you heard about this? I mean, this is enough to send you right over the edge. Brighton and Hove Albion. Well, put it back up. It's not Brighton and Hove, it's a football team. Brighton Council have come out in the last... Have you heard this? In the last half an hour? I think his name was Jacob Taylor. I'm waiting for it to come back up because this, you know, we talk about how... That's not what I want up, is it? I want the thing up. We talk about how lots of councils are going to start taking legal advice. Brighton, which is, you know... well, let me tell you what he says. Jacob Taylor, the local authority's deputy leader, has said, as a proud city of sanctuary... we will always play our role in housing asylum seekers and providing a welcome and important support to those fleeing persecution and horrific circumstance, which many of us can thankfully only imagine. We will not comment on the location of hotels being used by the Home Office to provide temporary accommodation to these poor people. I believe to do so in the current climate is both irresponsible and risks causing division and unrest in our balanced society at a time when we more than ever need to bring people together. I just want to ask you very calmly, what persecution and horrific circumstance is there apart from having to sleep in a bloody tent on a French beach? I don't understand. That man's devoid of any understanding of what's going on. Fleeing persecution, right? Yeah? Has he got a daughter? Has his house been ransacked? Has a female relative been sexually assaulted? I don't understand these people, James. It drives me insane, man.
Yeah, well, for these people, politics is just a game, right?
Yeah.
Quite Lee Kuan Yew, the legendary Prime Minister of Singapore, says it's not a game. This is your life and mine. I think that's exactly right. And whoever governs, he said, Singapore, and in this case, it should be Britain or even just Brighton there, should have that iron in him or else give it up, right? I think that's what we need. The giveaway from this moron is that he talks about a sanctuary city, which is, again, that's an Americanism, right? They have these sorts of places over there. It's American terminology. And every time you hear something like that, as big a fan as I am of the United States and think we can learn an awful lot from them, you know this bloke has spent too many evenings watching The West Wing and watching Obama videos over and over again and thinking, oh, God, wouldn't it be great to be over there and be all glamorous and all the rest of it? What actually matters is keeping British people safe. 20 years ago, when Tony Blair was the Prime Minister, the approval rate for asylum claims, 5%. And Tony Blair would openly come out and say in speeches, most of these people are bogus, they're economic migrants, they throw away their documentation, they invent sob stories. Blair is on the record as saying that 20 years ago. 5% approval. Today, or last year specifically, 66% approval, because the growth of the case law in this, the growth of the activists, the amount of money going into it, the way, frankly, that the ECHR changed about 13 years ago or so to make it a lot more difficult to get any of these people deported, and just the growth of the administrative state and the diminution of powers of ministers. Do we really think that in the 20 years, which despite all the negative news stories about wars and all the rest of it, there's actually less war and suffering going on now?
Well, don't forget, Trump's ended 6 of them in the last couple of days, hasn't he?
Right, right. But look, there are horrible things that happen around the world, and lots of people who still don't have the kind of living standards that we enjoy just about in Britain. But we don't have a moral responsibility to have the entirety of the third world coming into this country.
And my point is, no, and I'm with you, but for me, the reason we're at where we're at, the reason yesterday was so seminal, right, is that I feel like, you've been away, I haven't said it to you, I feel like for years we've been the moral leaders, we've been the people that ethically do the right thing, but it's never been to our detriment. I think for whatever reasons, when your electricity bills, energy bills go up 3 times, your food bill goes up 3 times, you can't get a mortgage, you can't see a doctor, all those things that we know, that's hard enough. But then when you're struggling and you look at people being brought or coming to this country illegally, many who commit crimes, many who do not, I don't care what anybody says to me, you can all sod off, they don't come with their wives and children, they haven't, we performed correctly for the Ukrainian people who were being bombed into submission by the Russians, but so many of these people are not persecuted, they're not fleeing persecution, they're fleeing for a better life. And I have forever said, right, that if we as a country, wake up. And yesterday this country was told, you know what, actually, we're listening to mothers saying we don't want our kids, our young daughters attacked on the streets. Because I thought there was this dreadful phrase yesterday, and I can't find it, but it said that Yvette Cooper had said that through her KC for challenging the Epping thing and ultimately losing, it was that this would make it impossible for her to carry out her duty to support asylum seekers. I respectfully would suggest that the duty of a democratically elected government is to look after, keep safe and provide for the people, the indigenous population first and foremost. What's wrong with that? Why is that such a terrible thing to say, man?
You racist bigot, you. How dare you want to put British people first in Britain? How dare you, right? That's the mindset that some of these people have.
That's what people think, though. People say that. They go, it's terrible.
No, it's absolutely extraordinary. The reason that they talk about having a duty, by the way, is that we put so many duties into law. So you have a statutory responsibility to do this for asylum seekers, for people of this, that, and the other. And the more that you do that, especially actually at local council levels, the less freedom you have to look after everybody else, or the more you end up having to take from everybody else, because there is no theoretical limit in that law that says you have to look after these asylum seekers to how many people you can and should take in. Because according to some of the definitions out there, we have, everybody in Afghanistan, everybody in all these other countries coming over, and there's no space for them in terms of housing and provision of healthcare and education and all these sorts of things. But there are Labour politicians who say things like, we should keep on taking people in until we're fit to burst, until we're bursting at the seams.
Well, you're not going to be re-elected because you're not going to be re-elected, Labour politician, because you are not reading the room and you are not understanding that the British public have had enough. I think that's
this is the really interesting bit. The fact that a politician, if you think, imagine they don't care about their constituents, they don't care about the country out there. The one thing you would assume they would care about is their job. Is their job, exactly, is getting re-elected, is survival. But they don't even seem to be focusing on that. It's like those animals that get the kind of brain worm, the little virus that goes inside their brain and takes them over and then has them go and be eaten by another animal because the virus really wants to be inside that animal. There's a lot of those cases out there in the wild. Seems like politicians are acting like that, acting in their own worst interest, telling people at home that you're thick and that you're racist and that you're bigoted. Don't dare vote for me again, vote me out. I'm going to keep giving your money away to foreigners. Well, how could that possibly make any sense until you realise that the whole system is structured to force them to have to say that, or they won't get invited to the nice dinner parties, or frankly, it's the fact that all the civil servants are saying, well, you can't do anything about it anyway unless you're willing to change international law or change our domestic bits of law to suit.
I'd love to take on that. I would love to take on those civil servants. Don't go anywhere. I want you in on this. This Epping decision has gone completely nuts in this studio. Laura, a voice now on Epping. Go.
Just wanted to say that it is all coming together. Mike has been saying for as long as I can remember, or since this government got in, that basically something is going to bring them down. And I think it's this fantastic, quiet revolution of the majority. What they've been desperate to do is frighten the majority of us with Lucy Connolly and all of that. And we're not frightened anymore. Everybody is putting up their flags. Everybody is quietly saying enough is enough. And it's a wonderful, gentle, very British revolution.
That's quite an interesting point because, of course, we've had Flaggate in your absence as well, as I said. And here it is again. In Bromsgrove in Worcestershire today, the police have announced, West Mercia Police, that they're investigating because some terrible human being painted a St George's flag on a roundabout. So he's going to be arrested, but he's going to be in severe trouble. But you can walk into a shop and burgle and steal and attack people and you're absolutely fine. I mean, you were away. I mean, I've almost exploded in front of you on several occasions, but I think that this particular day, you were in America, I did actually explode because there was this heinous bloody human being who went on trial because he'd arrived Afghan, I think. He arrived and he was walking along Bournemouth Beach and he decided to approach a 70-year-old and put his hands down her pants, basically. Was dragged off by his friend, kept trying, was arrested. The trial was last week. The judge, ready for this? You're going to fall off your chair. This was a mere aberration. He had a very difficult upbringing, and rather than throw him out, we're going to allow him to stay here forever and teach him how to live his life correctly. I literally nearly just went home. So he's back on Bournemouth Beach, attacking English girls. And when you say that, it's madness. But the facts are the facts. This is not the diatribe of some far-right idiot. These are these are parents, mothers, fathers. Where are we? How do we get to that, JP? How do we get to it, man?
I think we talked. I'll try and keep my cool as well. We've talked a lot about how the system is rigged against the people at this point, and that maybe it's not through any deliberate fault of any one individual trying, but it's been built up so as to create perverse, disgusting, evil, immoral, repugnant, rancid decisions like the one that you've just said. You only have to go back to someone like John Locke, the kind of great philosopher who came up with a whole kind of theory that the legitimacy comes through the consent of the people, and why we have elections, basically, is sort of his writing on that. And what did he say? It wasn't some mad far-right bigot, right? He said that if a government loses its kind of legitimacy over the people, then revolution is perfectly entitled. And that wonderful voice note from your listener talks about a very quiet, very British revolution, I think is exactly what we're seeing, to the point where being so inspired by being away in the United States and seeing how patriotic they are. Yeah. I've got my own St. George's cross just here.
Good boy.
And I've got a Union flag here as well. And for Mrs. Price, because, you know, being an American as well, we'll fly one of these flags as well, because I think that will really upset all the lefties as well. And we'll fly it outside with a lot of pride. And I think that everybody should be doing this, because when you get millions of people standing up like this, the system is going to fall apart, and we will soon elect a decent, honourable, moral government, whether it's Reform, whether it's the Conservatives, whether it's some kind of coalition. It'll be one of those three options, I suspect, that will fix all of this. We will be able to wave a kind of magic legislative wand. We'll be able to undo these disgusting decisions, take our country back, deport the criminals, deport the illegals, fight back against radical Islamism that has been left to fester here as well, sort out our NHS, sort out the school system, get a proper military worthy of the name again and worthy of this great island story, and we will take our country back no matter what the leftists and the socialists and the communists and the Marxists and the Islamists say. Please don't lose heart. We'll always be in England.
You're amazing. In a studio where last week when it was roasting, the air conditioning didn't work and I was sweating like a pig. Today, it's cold outside and the air conditioning, I'm that cold, but you've warmed me up. If I ever stand, I will have you. You are going to absolutely work with me. You're a legend, mate. We love having you on. Thank you very much indeed. The legend that is James Price. We'll go to the ad break with a voice note, but if you want to leave one, 0344 499 1000, text to 87222. Next, a local councillor from Spelthorne Council in the Midlands. No, not in the Midlands, near Heathrow. He will be speaking to us and saying, this is why we are going to challenge the government, because we want to sort out the migrant situation. Dave's got a point of view on Epping. Go, Dave.
The judge that made the right decision in my eyes, and in the eyes of many, have they faced any backlash for this, for making that judgment? And are we looking after that judge? Are you making sure that they don't get faced any backlash or any consequences for making the right decision? Because I can see that actually happening, then putting pressure on that poor judge.
If there was a so-called peace agreement, and he kept territory, which I think is an abomination when you think that he invaded.
Agreed.
If he did that, he'll come back for more. I mean, Hitler did that. He does that. All the dictators of history never give up because they believe they're right, and they will do whatever it takes. They don't care about human life. He's had 1 million people that have been killed or injured as a result of his invasion on the Russian side alone, and something like 300,000 to 400,000 killed or wounded on the Ukrainian side because he decided to go to war with them.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Oh, welcome back. I thought we were going to do something else. So, 5:27. We're live across the UK. Sarah Pochin, Reform's only female MP, will be here from 6 o'clock on Talk Drive. Andrew Bestford, love the show, Jez. Who is this Jake idiot? I hope the residents of Brighton agree with him, or he's going to have a lot of upset constituents. This is Jacob Taylor, the deputy leader of Brighton City Council, who says they will forever be a sanctuary for poor people escaping persecution and fear. It's very frightening on French beaches. Terrible, terrible. I want to know why that idiot in Brighton isn't talking about veterans on the streets who are homeless, who fought for you and your idiotic policies to be able to be spoke about. You know, the truth is, your priorities are wrong, mate. That's the truth. Westy. Dave in Lichfield, I've no idea. So Brighton Council welcome all asylum seekers there. I bet all the do-gooder lefties there will all of a sudden panic that they will come to them and reduce house prices, probably. Martin Dagnall. Hello, Mark. Hi, Jez. Martin from the Wirral. Oh, this is great. Listen, great show. This is a great point. I wonder how Dame Angela Eagle feels now. She's the Borders Security Minister. She's the one who yesterday said, we inherited, not in that voice, obviously, we inherited this disastrous situation. We're going to make it better. Wirral Labour Council, in the last hour and a half, has sought legal advice to challenge the Labour government and get asylum seekers out of their area. Wirral Labour Council is involved, or is part of the area where Dame Angela Eagle is the Wallasey MP. So they are considering a case against the asylum hotels there. That's her policy in charge of things, a local community. Oh, it's falling rich. The irony is all the left woke councils brought in these planning laws to stop taxing people doing Airbnb. Now the government is biggest short-term landlord in country. Nobody's paying council tax. The words weren't great there, but I think I know what you meant. Sally in Brighton. Now we know where all the migrants are going. Brighton. Yes, you do. Jeremy, if Brighton and Hove is happy to keep taking the migrants in, all of these hotels should be sent there and the problem solved. If they're happy with it, we'll send them there, says Kev. I agree with that. Maggie's in Cheshire. Landlords need to see proof of right to live here, an ID, of course. Can migrants provide that when going to live in HMOs? No, of course they can't. Christina, Jeremy, Brighton and Hove are crackers. That's the tourist trade down the bleeding toilet. Helen's in Yorkshire, loads of you. If Brighton wants to welcome the migrants, they can have them all of them, Sodom. Sally says, the HMOs are springing up all over the place already. There are several planned in the small road I live in. This really is so central to people's lives. James says, how are the government going to sidestep this hotel problem? The public are already looking at HMOs now. What is going to be their pathetic response? And finally, OK, just take a sec, because this is always high octane, this show. Ryan, I am homeless. Currently, the prices of rent are out of control and so expensive. I can't afford to rent in my area, which is currently Croydon. It's a joke. I've informed the council and I had to send 4 chasing emails as I filled the homeless application forms back in May. And I was only just seen last week to be told I am not a priority, but that migration people into private accommodation are. Why am I being screwed? And do you know what, Ryan? I'm not even going to ask you why you're homeless. You're taking the time to email your council. You're taking the time to email me. I have said this till I am bored of my own. I am really proud and happy to be part of a country that says we will pay for people who are less fortunate. I think that's a good thing. I think that's a right thing and a proper thing. But when it goes so far to the point where we're not helping those people, we're screwing those people, whilst we bend over backwards for people who are taking the mickey out of us and our country, it is absolutely outrageous. Right, as I told you yesterday, Epping Council, it was a pretty monumental moment yesterday. The Home Office tried to get it thrown out. The judge sided with the council. Those migrants have got to be done. Yes, only an interim agreement, but it's 14 days. But it has set a precedent today. 12 reform-led councils across the United Kingdom say they will seek legal advice. In the last hour, we hear that Wirral, the council on Wirral, the same constituency as the Border Securities Minister, Anna Eagle. But basically, they're taking advice. It's a Labour council. Broxbourne are doing it. Spelthorne Council. This is a really interesting one. They are the latest council to seek legal advice about the Stanwell Hotel near Heathrow Airport. But this is the other side of the argument. How many of these councils who are now going, we'd like to take legal advice, are doing it because they want to, or they're feeling pressurised, or they don't want to upset people all of a sudden. Let's speak to Matthew Lee, Spelthorne Conservative councillor, who's sort of angry on several fronts. Matthew, thank you for joining us. Good evening. How are you?
Yeah, very good, thank you. Angry indeed, I would say. You're completely right. We, as the Conservative group, tabled a motion only 2 weeks ago to ask our council to do the same thing as Epping, and that was to ask the Home Office to close the hotel for an asylum seeker centre and to return it to the local community. That motion was turned down by the majority of councillors made up of Labour, Lib Dems, Independents and Greens. And then yesterday, Epping succeeded in its injunction. Spelthorne Council should have acted. They didn't. We put forward a motion yesterday evening to have an extraordinary council meeting. We await the decision of the Labour Mayor to decide if he will accept that meeting or not. And then just today, the council releases a press release to say that they're seeking judicial advice, taking on board Epping Forest. Now, we operate, Jeremy, a committee system. That committee system requires full council to approve certain events. The council voted to keep an asylum seeker centre, not to close it. 2 weeks later, based on Epping Forest judgment, they've suddenly changed their tune. So as you can appreciate, as councillors, we feel that the residents of Stanwell have been let down, and that is why we put forward this new motion.
I mean, let down. Try and let me explain this. I completely understand that you feel that you, as the local Conservative councillor, and your colleagues have been trying to do right by the people. It's been turned down and spurned and thrown back in your face. And now the council, made up of this sort of hodgepodge of all sorts of people, sensing what I think a lot of councils, Matthew, are going to sense across this country, which is, if you want to be re-elected, I'd start listening to the bloody people and stop labelling them all far right, have jumped in without consultation, and I guess are trying to take the credit. But surely the people of your area, Spelthorne, will know that this has been raised before by you. But even if they don't, is it not good that this is happening anyway, or do you think it's window dressing? Do you think they're not genuine?
Well, it's an interesting question, Jeremy, because clearly the advice to which our council approved was not to seek to have an injunction raised based on a breach of planning. Now, clearly the council approved the use of the Stanwell Hotel as a hotel for paying guests. Now, we are asking as the Conservative group to have the matter reviewed, and if we are seeing exactly the same position that what happened in Epping, and that the owners of the hotel did not apply for the appropriate change of use, then we should look for it to be closed.
And you can't lose, because what will happen in the law is you'll simply quote that case. Can I just ask you very quickly, really appreciate your time, is there genuine anger in your area, as there seems to be building and being made aware all over the United Kingdom?
Well, I think the simple answer is yes. Jeremy, Stanwell people are warm and welcoming. They've done their bit. They've welcomed in migrant families, but they feel let down. They feel let down because their village, which had a family hotel, yes, it's run by a hotel consortium, but that hotel housed christening...
No, I know that. But what I want to ask you is, I want to know, this is what I want to know. Do these people that you represent, do they openly say to you, yeah, we are concerned. Mothers are concerned about teenage daughters. There are migrant men loitering on the streets. We're not vetting these people and they're coming into this country. Is that the feeling, irrespective of how this has gone about it, is that the feeling as a councillor that you get?
The feedback we're getting from residents within Stanwell, which we expressed in the council meeting 2 weeks ago, and we will express it again in the forthcoming council meeting, is that residents, no matter if they are young families or elderly residents, they are concerned that these migrants are released from these hotels or processing centres into the community for a period of time. They're not screened. It causes anxiety and concern. They feel they're not properly consulted and they want change. They were happy to accept migrants using the hotel for a given period of time. The tipping point, Jeremy, was the change from a family asylum seeker centre to male only. This was not consulted to residents. It wasn't even consulted to the local authority. I'm an elected representative of our council. We did not know. And even today, the Home Office is still not properly telling residents who is actually in that hotel. Have they already moved out, all the families? And is it just single men? They're not communicating.
Well, we
asked
for a statement, and they wouldn't answer that as well. It's a really interesting story, Matthew. I appreciate your time, and from your point of view, you know, the Conservatives in Spelthorne have been pushing for this, and I guess on the one hand you'll be pleased that decision's been taken, but as with all politics, you'll be thinking, hold on a second, this is reaction. But what I would say to people, thank you so much, Steve, Matthew Lee, all across the UK, is that however this comes to pass, surely the good thing is, whether it's a Labour council in Wirral, Spelthorne Council, and it was started by the Tories. Tories did great work. The council wouldn't listen to them. All of a sudden, big U-turn today. We're going to get legal advice. I think people are panicking, probably the wrong word. I think people of all sorts of political ilks are going, geez, people really are serious. Yeah, they are serious. Anna says, JK, you and Mike are like a pair of naughty teenage boys. Right. The problem is the Navy are lefty snowflakes, so they won't do it. I guess that means go and pick people up in boats. Jeremy Cull and Mike Graham, why don't you both run the country? We're starting busy. It's 21 minutes to 6 o'clock. We're live across the UK. Still to come this hour, Sean Custis, head of sport at The Sun, will be here. All the latest sports news and more of your calls after this break. 0344 499 1000. I'm back in 3 because I'm off for a wee.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Thing, we've just run a promo saying Ian Collins is back tomorrow. I mean, Izzy wasn't here today. I mean, we'd look really stupid if we played that. And is he back tomorrow, Ryan? You know him. I don't like him. He's with my wife. That's why I don't like him. Never liked him. Joking. The legend that is Ian Collins back tomorrow afternoon between 1 and 4. We're live across the UK. Lynn says, I'm so sick of this bloody country, trying desperately to get myself and my kids to Spain as soon as possible. Make sure you watch out where you buy in Spain and you'll be homeless. Great show as always. Lindsay in Essex. I've got a joke about that, but I'm not doing it because Ryan's hand will hover over the button. 0344 499 1000. The soon-to-be First Lady of British politics, Sarah Pochin, Reform's first MP. I'm always slightly in awe of her. She's here at 6 o'clock. That'll be nice. We've got sport with Neil Custis, head of sport at The Sun, and some of your calls. Let's go to Birmingham, mate. All right, Russ, how you doing, kidder?
Oh, I'm all right. Yeah, you're all right.
I'm all right. I was just wondering, is your bloody rubbish been collected yet, mate, or what?
It is, because I'm over the east side of Birmingham, and we have no issues with the rubbish.
Whereabouts are you, mate?
In Tamworth side.
Oh, that's a terrible place there, isn't it? Tamworth Council are allegedly also thinking about taking legal advice against the government about these hotels. Is that what you're ringing me about, pal?
It is. It's more to do with the idea of moving them out to HMOs. Now, an interesting one for you. Landlords typically have to follow the own government rules on right to rent. And those rules typically mean that you have to do various checks. If it's a British citizen, that's things like getting their passport, checking they're a British citizen, etc. If they're not a British citizen, then you either have to get what's called a share code, which I think is issued by the Home Office, and that involves things like checking the person's identity, checking their documents, etc. Or you have to have an EU immigration certificate. So how are these illegal immigrants got any of those? How can you follow the own government's rules to rent out HMOs to illegal immigrants when you can't follow their rules?
But how the hell did they get into this country with 28-year-old men with grey hair pretending to be 11-year-old boys, people who throw their passports in the sea? Somebody said to me, I've sat and listened to people say, oh, you've got to feel for these people. I mean, can you put that quote back up? Leave it back. Is it there from Brighton Council? It's gone again. I want it back, please. I hear people say these poor people must be absolutely terrified. That's why they're coming in these boats, and I don't condone any of that. I think it's very sad. Did you hear what Brighton and Hove City Council have said in the last hour? Have you heard this? They've gone. Jacob Taylor. He's the local council deputy leader. Shame on him. He says, as a proud city of sanctuary, we will always play our role in housing asylum seekers and providing, ready for this UK, a welcome and support to those fleeing persecution and horrific circumstance, which for that, thankfully, most of us can only imagine. Because I don't know what persecution there is on the beaches of France. I don't know what horrific circumstances there would be. Mind having to live in a tent, not a 4-star hotel at our expense. That's the truth, isn't it?
Exactly. And not just France, all the other countries that they've had to pass through. None of them are war-torn, and none of them are, are places you don't want to stay in. So, yeah.
And anyway, if you get in a boat nowadays, the French probably bring you half the way to make sure you're leaving, and then the RNLI pick you up halfway the other way to make sure that you're all right. Honestly,
exactly.
I can't have it.
Cake, yeah.
Oh, well, listen, it's good to know there's sense and massive sense in Birmingham. My respect to Tamworth, my old son, all right?
Yes, I hope they succeed.
Lovely, good man. Thanks for the call. It was Russ in Birmingham, Tamworth. We'll go to Hartlepool. Jeff Stelling's local football team. Tim, you're on Talk Drive. Good evening, pal. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you very much, Jeremy.
How's Hartlepool? Is it under siege?
No, it's not under siege yet. I wouldn't say, but we're all sort of starting to panic, aren't we, about what's going to happen?
What's your view of this situation?
Well, my view really is that for the last 2-3 years or whatever, we've all been engaged in talking about what can we do, how can we not accept the illegal immigration. But the bottom line is any country has the right to apprehend and detain anybody who enters their country illegally.
So why the hell don't we then? Why the hell don't we then?
The problem, Jeremy, is if you look into it, there is a clause which says unless they claim asylum. And then, while they're claiming asylum, they've got to be treated fairly and looked after, etc., etc. And this is all because of the ECHR. So, really, the solution to this is to get ourselves out of the ECHR.
Right, so let's just stop there. So everybody knows that. I'm not having a go. Everybody knows that. I said this to Farage. I've said it to Richard Tice. I've said it to all sorts of people. Reform will say we will leave the ECHR. Even the Tories are now doing that. All I hear all the time is, yeah, but you won't be able to do that because the legal ramifications and the left-wing lawyers and the human rights this and the legal challenge that will go on for years. I don't understand why, if a government selects it, let's just say it's Nigel Farage, let's say it's somebody else who walks in and goes, right, I've been elected and we are leaving the bloody ECHR and I do not care about legal ramifications, a bit like Donald Trump. That's what we're doing. We'll deal with the mess afterwards. We're leaving and you lot are being deported. Why is that not easy to do?
Right. Jeremy, that's exactly right. But they, unfortunately, though, does really illustrate what is the hurdle here. What is the insurmountable hurdle is that while we are in ECHR, no amount of talking, no amount of any conversations can change the fact that we are legally obliged to look after them. So we have to get out of the ECHR. That's the only option.
Completely agree. Don't think me rude, Tim. I've got to move on. My regards to Hartlepool. This is brilliant. Chorley FM. Come in. Yeah, man. Amanda, hello.
Hello.
Do you know that from Peter Kay? Chorley FM coming in your ears. How are you, Amanda?
I'm fine. I'm just very perplexed.
Well, you're from Chorley. What do you mean? Of course you're perplexed. I'm joking. Why are you perplexed, my darling?
Because I think it's a great victory for Epping. Absolutely fantastic. And it should be duplicated all over the country, but I think you will find that the Labour government will find a way to stop it.
They might well, but I would fervently suggest, and very positive about this, that whether they find a way to block it, or a way to answer it, or a way to deflect it, they'll be missing an important ingredient. I said this to Jack Elsom at The Sun yesterday, and I stand by it. When the silent majority are heard, a government that doesn't listen is in trouble. I think the British people yesterday probably grew a bit and thought, yeah, maybe if we do things correctly, we're not going to listen to people who label us as idiots. We're just peacefully saying we're not happy with this, and our elected representatives need to listen to that, and if they don't, we won't re-elect them. And one thing I should tell you, Amanda, is that whether you're talking local councillors or you're talking MPs or cabinet ministers, they all want to keep their jobs ultimately, which is why they get rid of leaders as you get nearer to elections, because they think only of themselves. Don't you agree?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I think they're all corrupt. And I will say that if this government wanted to stop the boats, they would stop it in a heartbeat.
Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. Myra, love and respect to Chorley. I've been several times. You're great. Thank you for coming on. That's Amanda on Talk Drive. 12 minutes to 6. We're live across the United Kingdom. Sports still to come. Sean Custis, head of sport at The Sun, a proud Geordie. We'll talk more about Alexander Isak. That's a saga. Geordie legend and my friend Alan Shearer's had his say. 0344 419 1000. Coming back in 3.
If there was a so-called peace agreement, and he kept territory, which I think is an abomination when you think that he invaded.
Agreed.
If he did that, he'll come back for more. I mean, Hitler did that. He does that. All the dictators of history never give up because they believe they're right, and they will do whatever it takes. They don't care about human life. There's 1 million people that have been killed or injured as a result of his invasion on the Russian side alone, and something like 300,000 to 400,000 killed or wounded on the Ukrainian side because he decided to go to war with them.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
About 9 minutes to 6. Can you please play the sting now, Amy, said Ryan, now.
Sports news from The Sun.
We are delighted to welcome proper Geordie. The lover of Northumberland, the legend that is Sean Custody, head of sport at The Sun. How are you? You didn't even turn up yesterday. You sent some...
I'm back. I thought I'd have a break from you, but I'm saying the same things today that I was the other day, really. It's deja vu all over again, Jeremy, which is Isaac. And we may be talking about this till September.
It's really
the
funny.
First day of September.
Sean is a massive Newcastle fan, and you don't know what's going on. Yesterday, of course, Alexander Isak came out and said, I was made promises, I've got to go. The relationship's broken down. Newcastle said, no, we didn't. You're a liar. You're our player. We both know Alan Shearer really well. Do you know my Alan Shearer story? So I went on a golf trip with my great friend Sir Graham Wiley, and I didn't know that Shearer was coming. I found out at the airport. I was slightly in awe, didn't say anything on the plane. We ended up we were going to the Masters several years ago, and we ended up in one of those, it was a bit like Brookside, several houses and then a central house where everybody drank and thing. Anyway, I woke up in the morning, had jet lags, 5 o'clock in the morning, and I'm standing in this massive bathroom, huge bathroom, and I'm naked, I'm shaving. And then I thought, I want a wee. So I go into the door at the side, and Shearer's sitting there he's sitting, and he literally put his hand up like he does when he scores. And after that, we're friends for life. He has really slammed Isak, and that's quite... Shearer doesn't usually do that, if we're being honest.
I do think he's become a bit stronger in recent years, having a go at certain players. He's had a go not just at Isak, but also at Isak's agent. Now, I think that's a bit weird because I think Isak's quite an intelligent guy who knows his own mind. But Alan's giving him a get out in some ways by having a go at Isak's agent, saying you should sack him. He's badly advised you, partly because didn't have any sort of release deal terms in his original contract. If you'd wanted to go or thought you might go, you should have had that in. Your agent's advised you badly, but it's your fault for listening to that agent. So now you're stuck in this position and you're behaving badly. Of course, his nemesis, Michael Owen, doesn't quite agree and thinks
Ryan doesn't know that Shearer and Owen are
just
not
do
mates.
not get on. It
Trust
dates
me.
back quite a long time to when Michael didn't play for Newcastle in a game which ultimately got Newcastle relegated while Alan was the acting manager.
He had 8 games and Owen would not turn out for him, and they are not buddies at all.
Michael Owen thinks that he understands Isak's position and that while he wouldn't do what Isak's done, he says, he thinks that it's a short career and you have a right to move.
I can't have him sometimes. Joel Linton, though, for me, who, by the way, can I just say, and I'm going to say, I'm suddenly turning into a Newcastle font of knowledge, the greatest thing I would say about Eddie Howe is how he has converted quite simply one of the worst number 9s you've ever seen into a midfield player that I think will grace any Premier League team. Joel Linton, box to box, fantastic.
Big hero of Newcastle fans now.
Massive.
But we wanted to get rid of him, to be honest, after his first season and a half.
Brilliant player.
But now a great midfield player. He liked a post which was criticising Isak. And it shows that there are certain Newcastle players now who've got no sympathy for Isak. There was a picture of Bruno Gumara's put a picture of himself last night, looking like just with his arms crossed just after Isak's statement.
Last night, you know that Newcastle's a team built on that team ethic, so that will be going down badly. So they want to try and get, I don't know whether they want to sell him or not, but they've increased their bid to 35 million plus 5 for Visser.
Yes, who's sort of doing an Isak, as we said the other day, at Brentford, which puts you in a bit of slightly hypocritical position, isn't it, if you want Visser to come to you and
also,
he's pulling a few strokes.
I can't even remember the name. Yes, I can. Scoggins. Yesterday, Dino was here yesterday, and he was saying, which is something that's really interesting, Brentford have turned that down flat because Brentford and other teams that they might, Strand Larsen or Wolves, they're going to sit there and go, well, you're about to get 150 million for Isak if you go through with this, so I think we'll hold out. It does make for an interesting transfer window.
Could get us all the way to the end, and you could have the most frantic end to the transfer window all time, because clearly Isak is not going to move certainly before Monday when Newcastle play Liverpool. So at the earliest you're going to get into some new negotiations next Tuesday or Wednesday. Then there's going to be a fair bit of horse trading.
Would you be happy with Wisser and Strand Larsen?
No, I want Isak. He must stay. You've all given up on that.
Listen to the Newcastle.
But you've given up on that, so he stays.
Doug, can I just say that I thought one of the greatest managerial performances last year was Nuno Espirito Santos. I thought the job he did at Forest was great. I know they tailed off at the end. There was all this panic a couple of weeks ago. They haven't bought anybody. They bought Amari Hutchinson from Ipswich, which I think is a great buy. They also bought the under-21 guy, McAtee. I thought that's brilliant. Douglas Luiz coming to Forest.
Douglas Luiz has now come back. Look, Villa didn't really want to lose Douglas Luiz when he went to Juventus.
Didn't he go with his girlfriend?
He did, but they split up now. But she's come back to this country. He's come back to this country.
You should do one of those chat shows of breakups of relationships.
They've apparently split up now, but he's coming back. He never really wanted to leave Villa. Villa didn't really want to lose him, but it was PSR reasons. Yeah. He did nothing at Juventus. He made very few starts. Came on as sub a few times. Juventus happy to let him go. He's coming on. Probably on loan, I think.
I think Forest have got a great squad, by the way, don't you?
Yeah,
I think they've got a good... I didn't understand
really
the letting Elanga go to Newcastle. Also,
we've got to have somebody.
Yeah, all right, don't get upset now. Ajax isn't playing, don't worry, mate. I'm joking. Now, the other thing is, the team that I really feel sorry for is Crystal Palace. I loved it when they won the FA Cup and beat Man City. I loved it when they won the Community Shield.
Yeah, it was brilliant.
They start tomorrow night. Eze and
Mark Gay.
Both subject of intense transfer speculation. Eze Spurs, they say it's a done deal. Gay to Liverpool. Thrown out of the Europa League unfairly.
Absolutely.
Oliver Gazner's done a great job there, hasn't he? I think. Fantastic job.
And fair play to the two players who haven't really thrown their toes out. And Gay's situation's been going on about a season and a half, because last year he wanted to get away because Newcastle wanted to bid for him, but Steve Parish at Palace held out for 70 million and Newcastle didn't come up with the price, so he stayed, and he's still there now. And both players are happy to play in the Conference League tomorrow night because they want to see Palace into the tournament proper.
If by playing in the Conference League they then move, does that mean they can't play in European competition?
No, they're not cup tied. This is a qualifier as well, so it doesn't count. You are allowed to play another competition.
So let's ask you for a prediction, because we've loved having you on. You're on back next week. By next Monday, when we're on air, you're not going to be here because it's a bank holiday, are you?
No, I'll be here. I'll work bank holidays just like you.
Of course, man.
I'll be here. I will make it my business to be here.
Just committed to working on a bank holiday now. That's really hacked me off. Do you think Isaac will end up at Liverpool? Not what you want, what you think in your heart.
Probably.
Yeah.
But before that, it's Newcastle-Liverpool on Monday night. And
who's going to win?
A brilliant atmosphere, and Newcastle will win it because Liverpool are going to pay because of the way they...
You're telling me, honestly, this is brilliant. No, and you're right. My mates up there, Robbie will tell you, the passion, the anger... It'll be really interesting if that is turned against the Liverpool team. You get an early goal, Newcastle, it could be a really interesting game.
Liverpool historically are great games, aren't they? You can think of the great 4-3s and all of that, so they're entertaining.
I would love it. I'd love it.
This will be a bit spiky.
It's absolutely fantastic. Sean, thank you so much indeed. Sean Custis, head of sport and a devout Newcastle fan who believes that Isaac should be put in the reserves and stay. News at 6, Sarah Poachin, Reforms News 10p on the way. Loads and loads of your calls. 0344 499 1000. But the news is next on Talk Drive. Back in 3. How much?
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
3 minutes past 6, we're live across the United Kingdom. Talk Drive. Well, Talk is the home of common sense and free speech, and thank God for Talk, because the way this world's going, I don't know. But, of course, we were all mightily impressed yesterday when Epping Council won that agreement with the judge and did the Home Office completely. I'm so delighted with my next guest. I've literally run to have a wee, because I'm getting to the age where I need to. So she's sitting here as calm and as cool as anything. Sarah Pochin, Reform's newest female MP, only female MP. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Jeremy. Thank you for having me on the show.
I will take you out for lunch. We're going to have to sort this.
You keep promising.
Honestly...
I'm going to have to move on soon. Can I just say Peter Cardwell has offered me tea and scones?
Of course he has. That's such a manly thing to do. Is come for tea and scones. Do you know? I don't know if I should say this to you, but do you know what gentlemen have on crumpets in the afternoon?
Honey?
Gentleman's relish.
Oh.
Do you know what gentleman's relish is? It's anchovy paste, isn't it?
Is it?
Peter Cardwell, being an English gentleman, will probably say to you, would you like a crumpet with gentleman's relish on it?
I'm not sure that's me, really.
I don't think it's you either at all. I think we'll go for an Italian lunch. Anyway, listen, thank you so much indeed. I would firstly, we've talked loads over the months. I'd love your take on yesterday. I was on air when this news broke straight away, and it literally took the airwaves. Everybody wanted to talk about the same thing. You've seen today the Reform 12 councils have said they'll seek legal action. In the last hour, we've heard the council at Wirral Council, which is Labour-run, is considering it. Tamworth considering it as well. Spelthorne have been pushed by Conservatives forever in the Midlands, but they've only just done it today. Is it going to be like a house of cards in your mind?
Well, at the moment, as you know, it's an interim High Court ruling, so there's always the possibility that this ruling will get overturned, that the government will be able to put pressure on the courts, I guess, to overturn this ruling, because the problem for the government now is that they still have 210 asylum hotels around the country with 32,000 migrants in it, I think is the figure. We know that there's 50,000+ migrants that have come in since this Labour government has been in power. So the government has got a real problem, because if this ruling is upheld, I'm sure it will go to appeal. If it is upheld, then what do the government do? They've got these, we, the taxpayer, have paid for these asylum hotels. They then have to find alternative accommodation. Now, if it was...
They also made it their policy. They said, didn't they, several months ago, we will move these people out of hotels. Right. To where? To private accommodation, to social housing?
In my constituency, I have about 850 to 900 asylum seekers, and my hotel, the Daresbury Hotel, has been shut because we called for it so strongly in the by-election, but of course it was too late. It didn't work for Labour. But the point is they've been moved into houses of multiple occupancy, HMOs, which we're hearing finally people accepting that this is a problem, because I went on and on about it in the by-election. To be honest, before I stood in that by-election, I never really appreciated HMOs and the impact that they were having in the community. And of course, since listening to my constituents coming in and talking about it, now everybody's talking about it. It's a massive issue.
I did a TV show years and years ago, and we were doing HMOs then.
Right.
There were 27 people in a 3-bedroom semi-detached house in the middle of Birmingham.
Yeah, shocking.
27, it's shocking.
Yeah, absolutely shocking. So I've got, I think, 90 in my constituency. But the other shocking thing is where they are generally being put and placed. And the North West, for example, in the latest Home Office figures, March 2025, the North West has 20,400 asylum seekers dotted around it. And places like Runcorn, very deprived towns, which historically have been only Labour, have never had a strong, powerful voice like mine standing up for them, have been a dumping ground for this issue, while no longer for Runcorn.
Well, it's interesting for Runcorn, it's interesting across the UK. So a few questions. You've made the point, and you were a magistrate, that it's a temporary injunction, if you like. But I would say this. I would say that the reason I think it's about to be a house of cards is I think I'm going to throw at you what I said to somebody yesterday. Was yesterday not the moment, Sarah, when the silent majority suddenly realised that without being, by taking on board that we've been called every name under the sun, you're far right, you're thugs, you're this, you're that, these people, these were women concerned about their kids, actually won a victory of common sense. A judge who wasn't left-wing saw the facts. That gives strength, does it not, to the people who believe that actually this can get better, rather than that, oh, well, this is what we're in, we're going to have this for another 4 years. I thought that was really, really important. And even if this is overturned because the government finds some sort of legal loophole, I think it's a powerful moment. I mean, yesterday, the KC for the government, I don't know if you read this, said that this would impact on Yvette Cooper's, I call her Mrs. Balls', job to her duty to house asylum seekers. Said it earlier on the show, I'll say it to you. Isn't a government's prime duty to look after, protect, serve and make sure the lives of the people in this country are better before anybody else?
Absolutely.
Have I missed the point?
Absolutely. The priority should be the safety of our British citizens, and Reform, quite rightly, is saying that this is a national security issue now that we're facing. And the point about the HMOs that we're talking about, so the hotels get shut, they get moved into HMOs, they're then lost in the community. It's almost impossible to keep track of these people once they're dispersed in the community. What should be happening is that this country should stop being a soft touch. It should stop having the pull factor for these asylum seekers, and all of these asylum seekers, any that set foot in this country, go into old army bases.
I'm not allowing them in. I've told you before. A reconditioned cruise liner, the Channel. You're not setting foot. I'm going to train a crack team of Border Force officials. You've got 24 hours and we will open our doors to you, but otherwise you're going to a detention centre. I want your response. Sarah Pochin, Reform's newest MP, Brighton and Hove City Council. Have you heard this? You'll love this. Jacob Taylor, who's obviously about 11, the local authority's deputy, has just said that as a proud city of sanctuary, we, Brighton, will always play our role in housing asylum seekers and providing a welcomed support to those poor souls fleeing persecution and horrific circumstance, which many of us can only thankfully imagine. I would respectfully suggest that persecution and horrific circumstance on the beaches in France is a tent. That's what I think. That is absolutely symptomatic of what's wrong with this country. That bloke saying that people are coming from France here because they're being persecuted.
Well, last time we all looked, France was a safe country. Why aren't they staying there? And I go back to what I said before. They're coming here because we are a soft touch with our benefit system. They get a house, they get money in their pocket, they get free dental appointments, free GP appointments. We all know the list now, ever increasing and shocking. Zoo tickets, cinema tickets, you name it, they're getting it.
What would you say to Brighton Council?
Well, you know what, if they want them, you take them then. Because I tell you what, in the northwest we've had enough, and let's move them all down to Brighton if you want them. But a reform...
Pete in Croydon says, I will absolutely guarantee that Sarah Pochin will be the next Home Secretary.
Thank you very much.
She doesn't want that job. She wants to be Justice Secretary. Here's what politicians do, by the way. They say, Jez, when we get elected, we'll speak to you, and then they ignore me.
I promise I'll still speak to you.
Good. I think you'd be a brilliant Home Secretary and Justice Secretary. And Jacob Taylor, Brighton, whatever. The fact is, I always talk about, for me, like, the reason Nigel tracks at the moment, this is my opinion as a voter, is that he seems to read the bloody room. I don't know how many politicians...
Exactly.
Are Labour going to wake up to the fact that people... all sorts of people, left, right, centre, high, have had enough of this.
But you know what, this guy in Brighton that you've just mentioned, does he have any responsibility or feelings of responsibility to the normal, ordinary, hard-working, British-born people in that area? Because I tell you what, you start filling that area up with these houses of multiple occupancy and these asylum seekers, and local people have the threat of safety to their women and their children, which we're facing in Runcorn, and people shout me down and they tell me I'm making it up. No, we've got hard evidence. You know, as a magistrate for 20 years, I know I don't speak unless I have hard evidence. So, yeah, let's see how the residents of Brighton like it when all these people are moved in and start to threaten people that need housing, people that need public services, school places.
Let me read you a story. I've just been handed this. Jacob Taylor in Brighton won't be listening and he won't be interested, but this is the reality of what is happening in this country. And for every single person who might go, oh, you're being a bit harsh, you're missing the point. A migrant we've just heard this out, just been reported in The Sun, has been found guilty of sexually assaulting 3 women while cycling home from work to his asylum hotel. Qais al-Assad, 26, committed the heinous attacks over a 3-week period along the same bike path in Hawley in Surrey. I won't go into specifics. He was arrested on June the 19th, and the same clothing was covered during a search of his room at the 4 Points Sheraton Hotel in Hawley. All 3 victims whose identities are protected after being sexually attacked near a Waitrose car park, bravely gave evidence today at his trial. This man, thank God, speaking through an... Speaking through an Arabic interpreter, how much did that cost? He said, "I haven't done anything wrong, I haven't assaulted any women, and I haven't kissed anyone. I left my country, I left my wife and kids in the camp. All I seek is safety." District Judge Julie Cooper found him absolutely guilty of all 3 offences and remanded him in custody at Wandsworth for sentencing on October the 1st. It follows a huge protest outside the 4 Points by Sheraton Hotel near Gatwick Airport on Saturday, August the 2nd. Now, I would respectfully suggest to some idiot who I saw on a programme today say, "What are you saying? That not to me, that every single person, Carol Malone, every single person who's a migrant is going to rape," and she went absolutely nuts at him. This man should not have been allowed into this country. So the 3 women who were sexually assaulted, whose lives will be blighted forever, that would have been avoided, Sarah Pochin, if this man hadn't come into this country.
There's lots of parts of that story that we need to break into. First of all, you said he was working. Why are these people allowed to work in the illegal black economy? Because we know they are, either as delivery drivers or whatever it might be. So that's the first thing. They're getting everything for free and getting an income. Then it's his 3rd offence on the same psychopath. Where are the police? How many times do you have to report offence of sexual assault on the same route without police being there and policing that?
I bet if somebody wrote this horrible migrant shouldn't be working, they'd be arrested.
But not only that, we hear he left his wife and his children in a camp. Well, what kind of man would leave his wife and children behind, come over to this country,
they're being bombed?
and then
I say this the whole time.
Sexually assault people? Well, what kind of human being is that? So, I'm sorry, we do not need these people in this country. They've arrived here illegally. Reform government will deport the lot, deal with them offshore and send them home.
Everybody says to me the same question, and I ask you when I speak to you, and you always answer it because you're good like that. It's really easy. Some people would say, simple solution, stop the boat, stop the benefits, stop the pull of Great Britain being what it is, stop Great Britain being such a soft touch. But they all tell me, the Blob, the ECHR, left-wing lawyers, blah, 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 blah. I'm naive. I think the democratically elected leader of this country should be able to walk into number 10 and say to the I don't give a toss what you lot think, this is what's happening. If Nigel or anybody else in your party or whatever, how committed are you to making sure that your hands aren't tied? What would you do if you got there and it was impossible to implement? What would you do?
It's not impossible. If I was in the fortunate position one day of being the Home Secretary, then under my watch, it's not impossible. It's about the will of the government to do it. Other governments have done it. Australia's done it. Yeah. Italy now under Giorgia Meloni is starting to do it. Even Germany is starting to question the ECHR. We will leave the ECHR when we get into government in 2029. We need to put a stop to this huge industry of left-wing human rights lawyers that make a fortune.
How much do they
out
make?
Of this industry? It's got to stop. And the endless appeal after appeal. We've got to put a stop. The Home Office, under my watch, will put a stop to this endless appeal process so that these asylum seekers, illegal immigrants, call them what you like, do not get the opportunity to spend the rest of their days here at the taxpayers' expense, appealing and appealing and appealing. God, it will stop.
I hope I don't die before it happens. I'll love to watch it. Jacob Taylor, though, says that, I presume, we've always been about caring and sharing, and that's how Great Britain should be seen, and we shouldn't be seen as this hard-nosed, unfortunate country. My argument to him would be, we're skint, you idiots. You should look after your own first.
We are bankrupting ourselves, aren't we? But the point I would make...
They're part of the problem.
The point I would make to him is that whenever there are genuine refugees, let's talk about the Afghan interpreters. We've looked after them. When there were... clearly the war is still going on in Ukraine, but when it broke out, this country rose to the challenge.
Led the way.
Yes,
one of the few
we
things
did
that Johnson
under Boris.
did.
Yes.
No, it's true.
We did, yes, and we took in genuine refugees, and we would always do that. That is the type of country.
I saw a great piece on television the other day. They were one of those great reporters who didn't mind being sort of slandered a bit. Went amongst all the Palestinian activists, and he asked the same question the whole time. Went, actually, the migrant protesters stop fascists or whatever. And he said, and he interviewed 11 people, Amy, and all 11, when asked if they'd take in a migrant, said, "Well, I would if I had the space."
Yes.
Did you see it?
I saw it.
Hypocrisy.
But that's exactly the point, isn't it? These people that go out there and protest, they've got nothing better to do. No. They clearly can afford not to work, so they go out and stand outside Parliament and make people like me lives difficult because I can't get in the building. But
do you get dogs abuse?
I do get abuse, yes, but
does it deter you?
I'm brave and fearless, and thank goodness there's people like me that are standing up and being heard. And this
what sort of abuse? Online?
Well, the online abuse, do you know what? I don't look because I think it would drive you.
I could have taught you that. I could tell you a few stories. Yes, just ignore it, because people who do that are too sad.
A lot of people say to me, you know, does it upset you what you're reading? I say, I don't read it. Why would I read it? You know, one, I'm far too busy.
If you base it on this that somebody once told me, which is the way I sort of deal with it, or dealt with it, I should say, didn't I? If you're naive enough to think that by being brave and standing up and saying what you feel, that if 100 people in the room, the odds are 50 are going to think you should be Queen and 50 are going to think you should be shot. If we're being completely honest, right? Yeah. You have to understand that. That's democracy, and I think it's really important, because I think you need a thick skin. I do.
It's brutal, the job I'm doing now, but I'm absolutely ready to do it. But what I would say is, you said 50 people like you, 50 people won't. That's changing every day now in this country, because more and more people, wherever I go, yes, I get the abuse, but more and more people are now saying, keep going, we're behind you, we need you, this country needs you.
Completely agree.
And that keeps me going.
Can we talk about, I nearly said the wrong thing there, can we talk about flags? The other big news story this week is, this is an extraordinary story that started in Birmingham, where the local council said, you can't put a flag up, health and safety, the pole might fall down and land on somebody's head. And then we had this idiot, I can't remember his name, it's not the one that he said yesterday, anyway, the leader of Tower Hamlets Council, who was found guilty of election fraud in 2015 and banned from holding office, is now back as the mayor of Tower Hamlets.
How does that work?
I know. I'm very happy, very, very happy to fly Palestinian flags, but has banned the UK flag and the flag of St George. And on a purely personal level, and I wanted you to pick your take on this, this really hacks me off. I don't understand why I'm allowed to be told that I can't be proud of my country and my flag. I'm sick to death. I was some dreadful human being. Mike Graham was talking about it earlier on GMB, where he said, well, this country's racist and the flag. Well, don't, just go then. Sorry,
Absolutely.
I don't understand why Ireland, Wales, Scotland can be proud. We're not allowed to be proud. If I want anything, I want us to be able to be proud of who we are and where we come from.
Absolutely, and look at America. Virtually every house, let alone government building, is
the White House, when the welcoming Starmer, had more flags than Tower Hamlet that were United Kingdom flags.
They're loud and proud. Even France. Look at France. The tricolour is everywhere. So what is wrong with our Union Jack? And again, a reform government will only be flying the Union Jack on public buildings. We will have none of this nonsense. And it won't be alongside Palestinian flags. It won't be alongside the black and white flag of Islam. The only flag that will be flying is the Union Jack flag.
Laura Donovan says, hi Jez, Sarah Pochin is an incredible woman. I'm only sorry that at my age I probably won't be around in 2029 to see her become Home Secretary. The woman, that she needs your vote. What are you doing there? It's so selfish, Laura Donovan. It is interesting as a sort of overview. I mean, you know, you look at this government. I mean, Rachel Reeves today, inflation's gone up, right? I mean, somebody said today, which is brilliant. So we're being I've got less money because she's taken it, and she's more skint than me. What's she done with it? It's true, isn't it?
Absolutely. We've got inflation at 3.8%. The gilts have now gone up to 5.6%, which means that she's paying more, we are paying more, to borrow the money to fill the black hole of, I think, is it 40 billion now? Is it 50 billion now? They don't know.
She trained as an economist. She's an economist. She trained as an economist. There's the other one. Do you remember the business secretary? I'm a solicitor. No, you're not. Oh, no, I forgot. So I'm a liar.
Well, look at them all. They are hapless ruthless bunch, aren't they? And she is absolutely, I mean, we're bankrupting ourselves anyway with this immigration problem, but clearly Rachel from accounts has no grip at all on this economy.
Mike and I call her Richard III. Oh. Go, when you leave here, have a look at a picture of Richard
I know
III.
what you mean.
It's exactly what you say.
That's a bit naughty.
No, it's not. What? Hold on a second. Angela Rayner called the Tory front bench scum. How's that allowed?
Yeah, I know. Disgusting.
You know, you can't have it. You can't have it two ways. I think that this country, Sarah, is ready, and whether it's Reform or the Greens or the Liberal Democrats, I'm just trying to be balanced.
Yeah, really.
I just think that yesterday was the start of, I'm not over-egging it, just a wake-up time where people... You know, I'm older, much older than you, and I remember if you'd used the words, or I don't know, if you'd used the word immigration 10 years ago, you'd have been labelled a racist. Yeah. I believe it's the most central feature of the next few months, possibly the next
It is a state of national security. There is no question. And I have said through the summer, I think Parliament should be recalled. We should be talking about this.
When do you go back to work?
1st of September.
Well, I say that you've been working all bloody summer.
I haven't stopped yet. But Parliament is back sitting on the 1st of September. But then, of course, it breaks for the conference season. But the point is we should be back. We should be debating this. This is a state of national security. I talk endlessly about the safety of women and children because of this problem, but it's the economic problem. It's what it's doing to our finances. £50,000, isn't it, to fund an asylum seeker for a year? You know, how can we go on?
We've got 103,000 times 50,000. What's that, 50 million quid?
Listen, I did A-level maths, but it was a long time ago. I can't work that out. I can't work that out in my head.
I failed maths O-levels. Did you do maths? How many O-levels did you get?
3, of course.
Did you get a degree as well?
I did.
In what?
Economics.
She should be the Chancellor. She's an economist.
No, definitely not. Thank you.
Listen, so grateful. Love having you on. And Nigel was first out the traps with the response, and he said that the councils under Reform control will be taking legal advice to do it, and maybe. It's the start of this country waking up and going, I'm afraid, don't want these people in our communities. We don't feel safe. We don't feel it's just. And maybe Labour will listen, but we know you will at Reform. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jeremy.
She's amazing. They love her. Sarah Pochin. And lunch. When should we do the... Oh, yes, we'll make it, honestly. Just laughing at me again. 0344 499 1000. It's 6:25. Back in 3. I'm off for a wee. Thanks.
They should all be processed immediately and be deported. And those 138 odd in the Epping Hotel, for example, they've got until September the 12th, so they've got 3 weeks. Process them rapidly, reject them all because they've come here illegally, and deport them. And if there's a crossover, then yes, people need to be housed in former military camps. What's wrong with some good UN-type tents? And let's deport them. Germany's deporting people to the likes of Afghanistan. We should be doing the same.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
For your calls and your messages, dear Jez, Labour, Liberal and Green authorities are going to go full on now and become Democratic-style sanctuary authorities. You'll see a wave of internal migration to reform and Tory-led authorities. Wales will go 100% reform next year. The worm has turned, says Chris in Newbury. Dean from Pewsey. Isn't that where... No. Simple idea. When they close all the migrant hotels, send all the hotel dwellers to the sanctuary towns and cities like Brighton. Eventually those voters will learn... It's moved. The consequences of their voting actions. Start with Bristol, Brighton and Birmingham. Great show, Jez. Have Starmer and Cooper called the judge who made that decision to close the hotel down in Epping right wing yet? I'm sure they will get round to it, maybe. Jeff. No, we've done that. Tony's in Cardiff. Jez, this woman is incredible. We the people need more Sarah Pochins. We need reform. At that exact moment, at 6:28, a man I call a friend, the only lefty that's allowed on this show because this man speaks sense and he's always honest. What's his name again? Matthew Tobin. How are you, my friend?
I'm good, are you?
Could I just point out to anybody who's watching this on YouTube, you know Taylor Swift's boyfriend, Travis Kelce, right? Torbett's had a haircut. I think the council have cut his hair. You look... Jodie's going, oh, my God, it looks like Travis Kelce. It looks really... She doesn't speak like that. What?
2 weeks ago. I've actually had a bit of growth,
Well, he said, didn't he? He went, I think it's growing on me. I went, not too bloody quickly, though, pal. Brilliant. How are you?
Good. You have a good break?
I did, and then I come back to this. Yesterday, I'm just being honest, I thought was really, really, really interesting. The news about Epping sort of hit 30 seconds before I went on air. Mrs Balls, it seems, tried through her KC in the morning to get it turned, and on the basis that, and I think the wording was terrible, out of her duty to protect and house asylum seekers, I think that there was common sense amongst women and mothers who saw a problem, and you've sort of seen today the beginnings of a wave. Yes, understandably, all 12 reform councils say they're going to be doing something. Wirral, that's shocking to me. Tamworth, both Labour councils considering, but we're heightened, or rather we're frightened by Brighton and Hove City Council. Have you heard? Do you know Jacob Taylor?
I don't.
God. He said, as a proud city of sanctuary, we will always play our role in housing... He's going to get... Matt will find an answer, so good he is. Play our role in housing asylum seekers and providing a welcome and much-needed support, I'm looking straight at you, to those fleeing horrible persecution and horrific circumstance. Many of us can only thankfully imagine such horrificness. Matthew Tobbit, I'm pointing because that's the beach in France over there. How does that man... I know there are genuine refugees, but there are also thousands of illegal migrants who are coming into this country committing crime. To be that stupid, right? Have them all, Brighton. Fleeing persecution. Are you fleeing a tent, aren't you, for a 4-star hotel, man?
So I think he's playing to his base.
Yeah.
Brighton is a very liberal city, long history of Labour and Green participation. I think for those that are fleeing, yeah, I agree with him. I have no issue with us doing our bit.
I haven't if they're genuine, but if like sort of Case Al-Assad, 26, who this afternoon has been convicted of attacking 3 women on the same path in Hawley and will be sentenced on the 1st, he said, I left my country, I left my wife and kids in the camp and I seek safety in this country. I didn't mean to, or I didn't kiss the women, I haven't done anything wrong. He's going to be jailed. You would understand why mothers are going, hold on a minute, this isn't acceptable.
Yeah, but at the same time, I hear that, and this is why, you know, I've said to you many times, there has to be, we have to process people before they get here, and we need to know whether they really are genuine, where they've really come from, give us your ID, etc., etc. That might help. I'm now leaning even further towards an argument of we have to allow some people potentially to work temporarily. I think they should pay their own way, and I think that has some credibility, and that way people are maybe less angry about the fact that we're putting them up or whatever. They've got to pay half their board or whatever it is as if you're on universal credit and you get partly subsidised and whatever else. But I think that I said the other week, I don't reserve special judgment for someone that does a horrific act because they're from a different country. No. I have an issue with all
I know, but the problem is I saw this, I don't know who it was, some lefty on some programme today, and I get that, and he got attacked. He attacked somebody for saying that. He said, you can't say that all migrants... I'm not, and I want to make that point. I'm not saying that all migrants are sexual, but if you've got 400 crimes, or whatever it is, 407 crimes, of which 50 or 60, I think, are sexually assaulted crimes, happening amongst migrant men, you are going to get people in this country going, well, if they weren't here, that wouldn't have happened. It doesn't negate the fact that that happens. What we're saying is if you allow people into your country unvetted, you are asking for a can of whoop-ass. That's a fact of life. And I'm not with all the people who jump on the bandwagon. The fact of the matter is, those women in Epping said, the hotel where a guy allegedly sexually assaulted a teenage girl was right next to a school. We think that's morally wrong. We want these people gone. How can I disagree with those women?
I don't disagree with them. I worry about where this ends up. Because, you know, we saw today...
You named it yourself, but nobody on your government's, well, the Labour government side, has the foresight to say, I'd go further. I don't think they should set foot in this country, absolutely like you, Matt, until they've been processed. And whether that's... I mean, I favour a broad. I don't understand how you can sort the passport office out in 12 months by crack training people, why you can't crack train 2,000 border officials and get this damn well done. Because when it's done, I want this country to go. Refugee... taxpayer, whatever you are, come in, brilliant. But I don't want people who, I'm being completely serious, who are apparently escaping bombings, / they leave their wife and kids there, looking for safe havens but go through several countries that are safe because they know they get the most here, arriving here, many are going to commit crime, not all of them, but most of them are, because otherwise, unless I'm missing the point, they'd have come legally and bought a plane ticket. So that is going to create, and I just felt like yesterday was, I just felt like the silent majority started to believe they could be heard. I genuinely mean that. I'm not trying to overdo it or over-egg it or anything.
I think, listen, as soon as I saw it, I thought, well, that's that. You know, every council in the land that's got an issue is going to go, yeah, no, we don't want them either because
Broxbourne about 30 seconds afterwards.
Yeah, but this is it. And I think, actually, there's definitely an argument to say, this isn't the council's issue. Unfortunately, successive governments have passed the buck in going, we don't want to deal with what is essentially a broken, I wouldn't quite say immigration, I'd say a broken asylum system, most certainly. So we're just going to let them come here, not process them, and sorry, the local council, you're going to have to deal with it. Don't focus on social care that's crippling your budget. Don't focus on the potholes. Don't focus on the bins. You know, we know you've got no council tax as it is, and you're having to put it up by 5%, but you're going to have to find some homes for these people as well, because if not, we breach our international human rights obligations. And I don't know who actually falls on that sword, unfortunately.
What about obligations to the people that in this country, though? That's what's also annoying people. I got an answer to the potholes problem, though. Have you heard this answer? It's fantastic.
Go on.
Well, there's a police force in Bromsgrove who... Okay. With Flaggate, as I'm now calling it. We'll talk to you about this. Flaggate this week started in Birmingham, where the council said you can't fly the flag because...
Bartley Green, Woley Castle, area I know well, used to work there, yeah.
Why can't you fly? Oh, apparently it's been taken over by the far right. What a load of old tosh. Now, Tower Hamlets. Do you know who the mayor of Tower Hamlets is?
Look for Ram, and I used to live there for 7 years.
But he got done for electoral fraud.
He did. He had to spend a period of time out, and now he's legally allowed again.
He's a bit like Donald Trump, 45th and 47th. He's the first and third mayor of Tower Hamlets. He'll allow Palestinian flags, but he's actually also banning them because he says the poles could fall on your head, health and safety, and also it's not good for buildings. So people have taken to the streets. They've had the reverse effect, and they're starting putting up flags everywhere. And in Bromsgrove, this is brilliant, a man painted a mini roundabout.
Oh, I have seen this.
And the police are launching an investigation. They're going to do him. So we had this suggestion earlier. To sort the pothole problem, why don't people just go out into the street and paint a St George's cross over all the potholes? And the council will fill them in as quick as bloody lightning.
You'll like this, then maybe somebody will be able to drag it up for you after the break. Somebody used to do that in Greater Manchester. I think it was Rochdale. He used to draw male appendages where
penises.
Yes.
Can I just say where you're wrong? Can I just say, well, we can say penis, but I also think that you've really failed us there. You said male appendages. I thought women could have penises as well.
I'm not getting into that debate. You must be mad. But he used to do that, so the council were therefore forced to act and fill them in. And he said, well, I'll keep doing it until you fill them in.
So paint your St George's flag or your husband's bits on a pothole, and it'll probably get filled in.
On the flag thing, right?
Yeah.
The Birmingham Council, I've no issue with people flying flags, do what you want, right, you know. What I didn't understand, I understood the Birmingham one better than the others. They said safety issue. No, they said protect the lamppost. Rubbish. I do think possibly there's a safety issue. If you don't tie it on properly, and
why is there not a safety if you went Tower Hamlets is surrounded by Palestinian flags?
No, all
it's
flags.
Absolutely bloody ridiculous.
Listen, I was the one that would leave my flat and see them, and I thought, I don't think this is quite right. As much as I sympathise with the Palestinian people, and even more so now as the time's gone on, I thought, well, that's not right. But if one of them flags falls off and it hits your windscreen and causes an accident, who's responsible?
Could I ask a really important question? There's only 20 minutes left of drive time on Wednesday, but based on what Matthew Talbot has just said, could I ask the United Kingdom, is there anybody out there who can text me right now on 87222 who's been hit by a fast-moving flagpole or flag? Have you been driving down the road and suddenly out of nowhere a flagpole has hit you? Have you walked down the road and a flag has hit you in the chops or in the nether regions, anywhere?
Listen.
Have you been hit by a flagpole?
I'm all joking about it. If it was someone's car that hit and you swerved off the road, who's responsible?
I'm just trying to breathe in deeply. But that's rubbish, man.
But also, where does it stop? So we can have the Great British flags, fine. We can have the Union Jacks, fine.
But why do I watch a bloke on GMB who says that this is a symbol of racism and everybody that's Operation Raise the Flags is far right, this is a disgrace, this country's racist? Why don't you go back? Why are you here then? Why is it so bad?
That's his MO, and, you know, that's Professor Kindy Andrews' whole shtick.
You're so cool, you are. I'd have to have you with me because you'd have to unwind me.
No, that's his thing, right? And that's fine. And what I will say, listen, for the people of Tower Hamlets, of a certain generation, that flag will give them certain feelings of the NF in the 80s. I get that. I do think, however, it's our national flag, right to fly it, and I think the biggest mistake the left made probably about 10, 15 years ago was allowing the actual fringe right to co-opt that flag as theirs.
Absolutely agree with
and
you.
We should be proud to be British, we should be proud to be English.
Would your dad fly the flag?
I think we probably have World Cups, all that. We've always done it.
But that won't be allowed. I was watching the coverage from America when Trump was inviting all the Europeans in. There were more Union Jacks around the entrance to the White House than you're allowed in Tower Hamlets. That's a bit weird, isn't it?
Yeah, but they've got the settle. I think, again, it depends how far it goes, though. If you've got someone putting out, then it becomes bunting, then it's the Queen's Jubilee, then it's this flag. Now we'll put a political flag up, blah, blah, blah. And I think, in a way, for the councils to have a blanket ban on all flags, nationalities, political parties, the Queen, bunting, whatever, is probably the sensible thing. Otherwise,
when Reform win, there will be a Union Jack flag from every government building.
That's good. I hope GDP and inflation and the rest of it sorts itself out. I just think there's bigger priorities for them to do, if that's the case.
Well,
I don't
it's
mind,
not going very well for Labour, is it? Inflation went up again.
No,
how is Taylor? Is everything all right?
As far as how much she's doing an album in Sheffield, I saw the other day.
Travis Kelce, a.k.a. Matthew Talbot, we love having you on, mate, and thank you. And it is interesting times, just to finish, isn't it?
I worry a lot, just long term. Labour aside, I worry that any other future government that isn't Labour is going to have much of the same economic issues, potentially worse. We're looking at, I think, a technical recession in the next couple of years. And the problem is if you have a government that comes in that maybe is even newer than Labour, I worry about how they'll deal with the issues.
I can't believe how unprepared Labour were. That's me being completely honest.
That's why I didn't carry on after the election.
Yeah.
I'd have liked, I will concede, I would have liked to have, I had my eye on helping the Minister for Homelessness. The original Minister, what should have been, was Mike Amesbury, and he ended up going his own way anyway. With his
Still of the belief that both Starmer and Reeves are toast?
Yeah, I was having a chat with an economist today who said all the studies he's done, it's very much like the period of the 70s before Thatcher come in. Not quite stagflation, but the fact that living standards are not going anywhere,
No.
wages are not keeping pace with inflation. She's Dennis Healy with her hands totally tied, going, I can't, I've got to try and sell something to the backbenchers that is totally unpalatable and like a cup of cold sick. But it's a bit like, what did he say? He said you can either have your caviar now, but in 2 years' time you'll have no food whatsoever, or you can have basic food now, and if the economy turns itself, you might be allowed fish and chips.
I believe that Farage... I completely agree with you about the Thatcher thing. Great to have you on. Respect to the... Was it the Stockport, what they call us? Give them a shout out.
Stockport Last Man Standing Group,
Stockport Last Man Standing Group. We love you all. And honestly, Travis Kelce is a good man. Thank you very much indeed, Matthew Talbot. We're 18 minutes to 7. More from The Sun. Will Barker, Deputy Head of News, about what's in tomorrow's paper. That next on Talk Drive.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Back now, we're gonna pause for a moment because Will Barker, who's the deputy head of news of The Sun, we always make it about the people of Great Britain, but just for 30 seconds, it's about us as fathers.
Absolutely.
Because tomorrow morning,
very nervous.
I am honestly, Henry's getting his GCSE results. He needs to just get a couple of things through, and then he can go to golf college. I'm worse than him. He's like, chill out. I'm going to drink a whole bottle of wine tonight. It's all going to go wrong. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm a nightmare. Are you a nightmare?
I am. It's my son Luke. He is.
Good luck, Luke.
Yeah, exactly. He's getting them tomorrow, and it's a bit. I guess it's a bit like being a football manager. You're not in control. Your team has gone out and played, but you've got some skin in the game.
I know, mate, and you know you want best for your kids,
Yeah.
right? And so listen, Luke, Henry, good luck. I think Will and I will be on the sauce. Anyway, there we go. And I've stupidly said to him, I'll take you and play golf with you tomorrow. And of course, he's so good at golf. He literally, the last time we played, you know what he said to me?
No.
I think it would be fair to say that perhaps you shouldn't play with me anymore because you're bringing me down and you're crap.
Oh, get down the Belfry. We'll have a go around the Belfry.
Yeah, very nice. Yes, I was married there. That's another story. That was the second one. Welcome. Local, this hotel watershed.
Yes, I presume you've been covering this today.
Mate, 30 seconds to 4, when this landed yesterday from Epping, I thought seminal moment. Today we've seen the 12 reform councils. We've also seen Tamworth and the Wirral, which are Labour getting involved. Broxbourne, Spelthorne. Did you see the comment from Jacob Taylor, the head of Brighton and Hove City Council? You ready for this? I'm going to watch Will Barker's face. As a proud city of sanctuary, Brighton will always play our role in housing asylum seekers and providing a welcome and much-needed support to those fleeing persecution and horrific circumstances, which many of us can thankfully only imagine. You do realise that fleeing persecution and horrific circumstance means leaving a tent on a beach in France, don't you?
Well, that's out of step with what we've found today. We've been speaking to councils, we've done a ring round.
Yeah.
So last night, as you say, this broke, and the Home Office, people in the Home Office were clearly in absolute meltdown over this.
Yeah.
They didn't know it was coming. They tried to jump in on the 11th hour, it failed. They were telling us that they're pointing at the council, saying, well, it's a Tory council. That's why they're playing politics. It's only going to be Tories are going to do it. No, clearly not today. As you mentioned, across the spectrum.
When a Labour council on the Wirral, then Starmer's in serious trouble.
Exactly.
Because then you've got councillors going, I better listen to the constituents, otherwise I'm going to lose my job. And I think we've got to a point, and the Sun have done great work and have talked about it and will continue to talk about it. I don't think it washes anymore to be told, you're all far right.
Yeah.
You're all racist. I think when mothers are fundamentally saying, we've got teenage boys, I've got a teenage girl, I don't give a damn I don't want anybody to be in a position where they could violate her. That's me being a father. And I think maybe, I mean, it might be turned over, but I think it's a seminal moment because I think people will then use that legal case and say...
It's definitely a watershed. I mean, there's no chance because you've also got the reformers saying, go out and campaign. If you go out on the streets and campaign, it's been proved that you can get these things turned over. So it's going to happen. They're slowly going to... And
I keep throwing this comment to everybody because I thought it was a brilliant text yesterday, and a bloke just sent me this message and he said that when the silent majority realise that their voice can be heard, the government's in trouble. It's true, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Fascinating.
But they don't know what they're doing. I mean, Dan Jarvis has said to us, with the guys in Bell, we don't know. We only had the verdict yesterday. They don't know what they're going to do with these guys to get them out. They're absolutely all over the place on it.
And of course there is genuine concern amongst your readers and our viewers and listeners that what happens next? Well, what's patently got to happen, isn't it? It'll be interesting to see whether the public show of, not defiance, but anger increases, continues. The only way to deal with these people is to deport them. You're not going to be able to... You put them in private housing, people, renters... It's a tinderbox, isn't it?
Yes,
but
absolutely.
The next story is bound to send me and most of my listeners through this is awful.
Well, yeah, so you might remember we reported back in May, Axel Rudabagana, the Southport killer, he attacked again in jail. He attacked a couple of prison officers.
He hurled boiling water at a jail guard in May.
Yep, the prison officers scared of him. So you'd think that they kind of want to bolt him down. He wouldn't be allowed to do anything like that again. But even just a few weeks after May, they've now raised his privileges again because they're a bit worried he can't watch Freeview in his cell. But he can watch the telly now, he can watch films, he's got more money to spend in the canteen, and it's absolutely crazy.
So from throwing boiling water at a guard, having murdered 3 kids, this monster has got a TV and a DVD player. As jail bosses bribe him to behave.
Yeah.
Bribe him, a child killer, to behave. I give up. I swear to God, you've done it again now. Where are we at?
Well, you have to think about these prison officers working. They go to their jail every day. They've got to work with this guy. He's a monster, and he's being able to swan around.
And put him in solitary in chains 100%. For 50 years with no view.
Yeah, absolutely.
God, Champagne Super Guardiola. That's a great headline.
So I think you're an Arsenal fan, are you?
Wow. West Ham. Who do you support?
Oh no, Aston Villa.
Crack on. We've got the same kit.
So yeah, Guardiola. Was spotted at the Oasis concerts a few weeks ago. Never talked about them before, but he's done an interview on Sky, which we've got the readout from. Branding the best rock band in the world, best rock band in the last 50 years, and lavishing loads of praise on them.
Have you been to see it?
Yes.
I went. It was absolutely How old are you? 47?
50.
How good was it?
Well, it was great. My rock and roll story is that I went to saw them in '94 before they were famous, and they were right in front of me. And
when you went, you were 19.
No, university. I was at university, and I don't think I can beat that. But it was a very close second.
It was incredible. Finally, quickly, Bottle of Stamford Bridge. What's this?
Yeah. So Cole Palmer. He is famous in the game for doing his cold gold celebration.
He goes like that, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Like that. It's like that in this studio.
Yeah. Is a bit chilly, yeah. And so he tried to trademark it. He's going to try and launch some gear, maybe bring out some toiletries, all that kind of thing. But there's a posh champagne maker. I don't know. Have you ever had any Chateau Palmer?
Chateau Palmer? No.
No, they do £750 a bottle. That's well out of my price range.
I can't afford that.
No, me too. But anyway, they've said.
Why are you grinning, Amy? Why is everybody looking around smiling? Get lost.
They've said, no, you can't do that because it's infringement of copyright. So.
I went out for dinner with Mike last week and made him buy some very expensive wine. I don't think he's forgiven me. Will, you're amazing. We wish Luke the best of luck tomorrow morning. 8 o'clock it comes through. He's already got his... they get it through. I know. Honestly, being a father's crap.
Yes. I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight. He'll probably be dead to the world tonight. And I'll
have to wake him up, Henry. That's the thing is, I'll be up at 5 o'clock, shaking like a dog that needs to do its business, right? And he'll sort of get out of bed at 10 to 8 and go, yeah, well, just whatever. Anyway, the best of luck to both of them. Thank you, my friend, and thank you, The Sun. Buy it tomorrow. More on the Migrant crisis, that hotel watershed moment, that disgusting story about Axel Rudapicana, the murderer, the scumbag who murdered those 3 girls that caused all those problems in Southport. He's won privileges from the prison officers and the governor, TV and DVD, because they want him to behave. You've only got 9 minutes, but I'd love to know from you what you think we should really do with somebody like that. 0344 499 1000. Back in 3.
This is a kind of retribution through the back door, rather like devolution was, to try and break Britain up into regions, or break England up into regions, if you like, and effectively promote the Scottish flag, promote the Welsh flag, and denigrate the St George's Cross, which is why I'm so keen that we do start to fly the St George's Cross. I'm going to buy a flagpole and start flying one from the end of my drive. I think it's time.
Good man.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
About 527, we're live across the UK. Kev is on for Julia all week, so Mark Dolan doing fantastic work. He's back in 5 minutes' time. He's very tall and gives me a neck ache. 0344 499 1000. Oh my God, what a wally regarding, Esme says, the flagpoles. That's like saying nobody can have an umbrella in case the wind grabs it out of their hands and throws it into the road. You have to swerve to avoid it. It's bloody ridiculous. Ed says, on the flags issue, nobody has ever raised a health and safety concern until now, just when English flags are starting to rise up across the United Kingdom. We are happy to be proud of our flag. We're going to fly it. Let's go to Hertfordshire. Wayne, you're on Talk Drive, 2 minutes only. What you got, kiddo?
Hi, Jeremy. A couple of points, if I can.
Yes.
Just quickly, we're always told that we don't know who these asylum seekers are, where they come from, etc.
Yes.
My girlfriend made a really good point earlier. These guys are getting given driving lessons. Now, I've gone onto the website to find out what you need as a citizen to get a driving licence, and you need to know, well, basically everything. You need a passport, you need identity, you need to have proof of address, you need to have a national insurance number. So how on earth are we giving driving lessons to people that we don't know, is my first point. That's quite concerning.
We're giving dinghy driving lessons to them as well. You think I'm joking? We're giving Pilates classes, how to play table tennis and how to go ice skating.
Well, I think they've had enough dinghy lessons, don't you?
Well, how ironic to teach a migrant how to drive a dinghy when they've come across... I mean, honestly, mate, it's enough. I genuinely don't know how we've got to this. Do you?
Do you know what? I think a lot of them have got PTSD because they didn't want to go on the Bibby Stockholm just because they didn't like water. So, you know, it's quite concerning. And Jeremy, just quickly, because I know you're going to have to go in a minute. The other point is, like, these HMOs, now, if they kick everyone out of the hotels, and as we all know, they're going to talk about putting them into deprived areas, which is basically what they're going to do. So you've got a load of unruly kids on estates that have got nothing better to do with their time. Do you think that these guys, these asylum seekers, are going to be safer in hotels or on a council estate full of a load of, let's say, kids with nothing better to do? Because I wouldn't want to be an asylum seeker on a dodgy estate.
Then leave the country. I'm sorry, I'm so strong on this. Mate, I love having you on, Wayne. Thank you so much. Who do you support, by the way, Wayne?
I don't really, Jeremy, but for you, West Ham.
Good boy, fantastic. You're always welcome. I was brought up by a man who was a very proud member of the MCC. Mark Dolan, is that an MCC tie? You're looking very smart, today.
Listen, I'm very authentic, as you know, just like you. This place is where you keep it real. This is a charity shop tie.
I love your honesty. It looks like an MCC. By the way, well done for wearing a jacket.
I've been out of work recently,
listen,
so, you know.
I wish I'd worn a jacket. It's bloody freezing in this studio.
It is. It's Arctic. I think it's the cold wind that's blowing through the country. We are in a...
You see? Well, I teed that up, and he smacked it out the park.
I tell you, it's like Michael Owen and Alan Shearer. Here's the thing. Am I the only one, Jeremy Kyle?
Oh. Am I the only Jeremy Kyle?
Well, am I the only one with Trump envy?
No.
Because I have got a case of Trump envy, right? Because this terrible man, this evil orange man who we're supposed to hate, is basically, he's improved the terms by which America trades with the world. He's waged a war on woke and waste. He's going to probably stop 2 wars, and he, most importantly of all, closed the US border.
Do you know that last January, February and March on the southern border, 378,000 people came in 11 and a half weeks? Do you know how many this January and February came in?
6K?
Less than 500. Love him or hate the orange man baby, as you say. What he's done to the American people is what I fundamentally believe we need in this country, which is stand in front of your country and go, right, that's what I'm going to stand on. I'm going to take you on a journey. I'll take crap from the media and from legal challenges, but I'm doing this, and if you elect me, I will put my life and soul into doing it, and I will tell you the good, the bad and the ugly, and hopefully we'll get there, and if not, I'll be honest and I'll do one. That's what we need. We need to put... They tell me, oh, you can't leave this and the league. Sod it.
No, you're going to have to tear up